Delivering. Delivering. Dogfish. Delivering. Dogfish. I'm the dude.
One minute, dude.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fight!
Hey, we are currently. Oh, there we are.
There
we are on the Balderson YouTube.
Number 39.
Yeah, I had to do some quick taping there. Some quick hunting pecking.
Duct taping.
We'll get there.
Sealing all the gaps.
I just got in the last minute. I had to go to town and get supplies.
Running a smooth ship.
No, definitely not.
A tight ship.
Probably not. No, not that one either. It's loose. It's ugly, but we're getting there.
Hey, man, the wins don't have to be purty. They just have to count.
Yep. Yeah, no, you get you when you slide into home, nobody really cares how exactly you looked on the way in there. It's the one run, no matter how much.
You're talking
There's
baseball.
an analogy for the year.
I think there's a baseball game happening right now as we speak.
I would presume so.
And it's America, and it's summer almost. There's definitely a baseball game happening.
Spent some time with some Heritage Americans doing Heritage American activities like sitting and watching parades, closing down main streets.
Watching riots, which
not riots.
Which we will talk all about the vigorous, peaceful protests with when our guest arrives. Today we have a special guest, Vibe. He's returning his child from Taekwondo, where he has learned to be Chuck Norris, and he's going to return him home safely after martial training, and he will be right in after.
It's the wax on, wax off training.
Yeah, Mr. Miyagi.
Keep the car clean. All those old vehicles driving around in the summertime. People wondering, is there a car show somewhere? Well, your driveway is a car show if you have a classic car parked in it. Everyone drives by, notices, hey, you got one of those old license plates. What do they have? The collector's plates? Special like white plate, black text. For the hot rods, the classics. They don't make
this
them like
is getting really close to the Rancid song Time Bomb. I don't know if any of you were subjected to pop punk in the early 2000s, but I was. I know every word to every song on And Out Come the Wolves, and I don't want to.
Is that because you had teenagers at the time? Or
No.
You were listening to these songs?
Renaissance festivals, and everybody that was like,
Okay.
And maybe,
I don't know, man, 20 or 19 to like 25.
Sure.
In that moment, in that era, was just sucked into, I guess, punk and its various affiliates,
Okay.
Yeah, and it ventured into the pop punk thing. And very specifically, the Rancid album And Out Come the Wolves, something that I was overly subjected to. So I know all the words. I do.
That would have been like Van's Warped Tour 2007?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, more like 2002.
Okay. I think I went to a Warped Tour one time. I walked in, someone handed me a condom, and I said, this is not a Christian festival. I don't know where I am or how I got here. I just wanted to see Family Force 5. I think that was the Christian band playing.
Christian that hadn't been corrupted previously would have just opened it and blown up the balloon like a good kid and just sort of toss it around the festival.
Yeah, give that balloon a blowjob. Show him who's boss.
Horrible.
Chuck Norris's real name is Carlos Ray Norris.
You have to be this naive to
Does
it.
that mean he's joining the vigorous protests?
Those are the ICE protests in what was formerly called Los Angeles.
I don't need to protest ICE. It's been fucking unseasonably cool here.
Mm-hmm.
It's been very warm here. I would not protest ICE. I think it's great. ICE. Love it.
You know what's crazy? The whole thing like is the blatant intentional mischaracterization of what's going on, because it's U.S. citizens, many of whom are being paid by very wealthy NGOs and political action committees and stuff like that.
Let's not get that deep into it. Tell our we have our guest here, because that's
I mean, this is a very, very broad strokes.
This is just what's been going on
Well,
last week.
Like we can prove all of
focusing-
everything that I'm saying right now. Like we can prove unequivocally, and they are really broad strokes. So there are American citizens who are going to protest what would be, by any stretch of the imagination, state overreach. The right wingers would be out in the streets screaming if Biden was doing what Trump is doing right now, or Kamala Harris was doing what Trump is doing right now. There'd be people out in the streets over it. You can't do that. You can't, because ultimately it would
I
have.
don't know if I agree with that, Steve.
What's that?
I don't know if I agree with that.
You're going to tell me that based solely on association with Kamala Harris or Joe Biden sent a bunch of ICE agents. I don't know why I have the hiccups right now. I really bugging the fuck out of me. But if Biden or Harris sent ICE agents into a nightclub like they did in Colorado and fucking rounded up everybody, and included in that was a Mexican American who had MAGA hats in his apartment, who was on fucking Facebook and Instagram, Viva la MAGA, shit like that. And Biden or Kamala Harris rounded up a U.S. citizen, sent him to a private prison in El Salvador that one of Joe Biden's good buddies, who was also a private military contractor, helped establish, and there was no accountability and no paper trail. You're telling me the maggots wouldn't be fucking furious about that? Of course they would.
I didn't say they wouldn't be furious, and I didn't say they wouldn't be crying big salty tears. I'm not saying that. Would they protest? Would they protest violently with fires and looting? That just, right wing doesn't protest like that. It just doesn't. But to get them off their asses out into a protest like that, that requires doing something real, like taking away 2A. And then all of a sudden you have a boogaloo and motherfuckers are walking around strapped up everywhere. Like, so, but because they deported a brown guy, you think that's going to get the Republicans up in arms and get them out in force as a group? Tell Dad I'm on my show.
Dad, I'm doing the show. I have an advertisement here from a Craigslist. I can read it to you. Let's see here. It's kind of a small print. I need a magnifying glass. It says they're looking for the toughest badasses in the city of Los Angeles. I haven't been to Los Angeles. Let's see. It's seeking extremely tough, brave men for a new crew on building. Compensation $6,500 to $12,000 $1,500 per week. We are forming a select team of the toughest dudes in the area. This unit will be activated only when the situation demands it, but you get paid every week no matter what. High pressure, high risk, no room for hesitation. We need individuals who do not break, panic, or fold under stress and are basically all-around kick-ass dudes. Physical strength, speed, conditioning is important, but mental toughness is everything. If you're not the biggest guy in the room, but you're the one people follow when things go bad, that's who we're looking for. This was posted before the riots started.
Well,
Los Angeles area.
taking and moving a dumpster as a shield, that's a lot of weight, especially if you want to do it quickly. You can't do that kind of thing slow. And so that's a lot of weight to move. You at best be in shape. That requires the more than typical 50-pound thing. And you disappeared and had something to do there quick. But all I'm saying is Steve, that Republicans aren't getting up in arms over a brown dude. Unless
right, but they will get up in arms over a white dude or a perceived grievance if you tell them, for example, that an election was stolen. I'm not trying to couch any of this into a partisan thing, really. We all know that
neither of us are on either team. We're just making a differentiation here, and I'm just saying that Republican side doesn't go out and protest for these sorts of things. They protested because there was 20 million extra votes, which coincidentally also didn't show up on this election. So as a statistically, that's an extreme aberration. And they said they showed up for that. They showed up for the Boogaloo. But for some brown person getting deported, fuck no,
so I get, yes, you're right. The right would never show up for a random brown person getting deported. The left has never shown up for a random brown person getting deported.
Well, they didn't get told to yet.
That's not what this is, though. In LA, it's not about like one random brown person getting deported. It's about having in their mind, this isn't me saying it. This is me taking what I've gleaned from, watching them talk about what they're doing and why they're out there. What they're doing and why they're out there has way more to do with, in their minds, massive state overreach and having the state, whether it be state of California or the federal state, send massively armed troops into their community to go fucking continue to raise hell on a community that in the last several months has managed to deport somewhere around like 55 American citizens to a fucking hole in the ground in El Salvador with no communication. And this is the federal government doing it. Yes, of course, they're rounding up other people that were here illegally and should be no longer in this country. I don't have a problem with that part of it. I have a problem with, and the people out in the streets, maybe to a degree. I'm not there. I'm not talking to them. I'm not doing man on the street shit, so I don't know where their head is. But I'm just, from a casual observing point, I'm looking at this shit going, 99.9% of the people that they're showing on TV that are taking active part of these protests are American citizens. The right is
999 to infinity.
The right is saying they're rounding up illegals. They're not.
No,
they're not. They're lying. They're clearly fucking lying. The left is saying fucking Donald Trump is a fascist. It's just going to fucking collect up everyone brown and ship them out. No, there's not. That's a lie too. There's still due process. We're trying to work all this out. What I do know is that for years, Palantir, Black Cube, a bunch of these other like shadowy surveillance organizations that only have a career because they partnered with the CIA for years before they went public are an integral part of surveilling everything. And that sucks. And the conditions have been created to where you've got a stupid, ignorant, hyper over emotional, hyper reactive left that is going to go out into the street whenever anybody with a fucking banner tells them to, because they don't know any better. And if you go down to fucking LA right now, you stick a microphone in front of some random, skinny jeans wearing sleeveless t-shirt from a band they never saw with a freaking mask on lefty college kid. Why are you here? They're never going to be able to tell you. Never.
Because there's a
They don't
Craigslist
fucking know.
ad that said that if you show up, you get paid for the week.
Yeah, $6,500, $12,500 if you make it 2 weeks and don't get arrested.
Yeah, the
Bonus
third,
if you get paid more with military experience.
Yep.
You
The
get
third
paid more
night
when you
I-
show up in boots.
the third night, I literally saw them trying to interview a dude, and the dude was fucking more than half drunk. And they're like, well, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know. I don't know where I am. And the dude was just charging the cops. Like, fucking had no idea where he was. Just no idea what was going on. He's just like, I'm just down for the fucking breaking shit and fires and, which isn't, I'm absolutely not saying that there's not agent provocateurs. 100% there's a substantial portion of agent provocateurs, but also there's a substantial portion that anytime that this is coming up, they are waiting to loot and pillage, just waiting for it. Like 50 times now you've seen stores where as soon as the riot reaches the stores, they just immediately go in and start pillaging that store. Like,
So do the surveillance cameras dissuade people? Like all the
No.
surveillance cameras that they have and all the technology to track people?
man,
Does that dissuade them from
in Southern
looting?
California, they ain't been arresting people for stealing stuff for a long time. They quit. They didn't worry about surveillance cameras. Like, the backlog of theft charges that would have to be there for them to truly, the mayor might have went on TV and went, if we caught you, we're coming to get you afterwards. No, they're not. No, they're fucking not. They got such a backlog in court that they throw out pretty much anything that's not a serious felony at this point because they just don't have time to deal with it.
And this is Southern California we're talking about, where the protests were, where the president of the United States deployed with National Guard.
Yeah, Northern California, where it's Republican controlled, again, they don't do that kind of thing. That's only in the super liberal areas. And I'm not going to state whether that's possibly because there's the while it's a powder keg, the agent provocateurs might provide some of that spark. I don't know if that's always the case, but apparently in the more red areas, what we get is 8 old people and some hippie dude and a dude in a wheelchair that sit there with the sign, impeach the traitor, deport the traitor. They just stand on the corner at the gas station annoying everybody. Like, but other than that,
I've been exploring small towns in northern Minnesota and looking for fishing spots and hanging out with people who just want to have conversations. They want to talk. Going to fishing spots, people are just leaving their tackle box open, leaving their fishing stuff, walking away, coming back a few hours later. The stuff is all still there. People are leaving their windows rolled down because it's hot. The backs are open, they have their hatch back up. People are just leaving stuff set and they're walking away from it and they're coming back and everything is exactly how they left it. And everyone understands what my property is and what your property is. And, there's no confusion there. People are getting along. Things are nice. But that's not Southern California then, huh? It's like they want to move people out of California? Is that the goal?
It's not that they want to move people out. They want to clear out a lot of the areas that the very, very, very wealthy want, like Malibu,
Okay.
Pacific Palisades, a lot of the coastal areas, stuff like that. In the actual city of LA, this is more of a problem, reaction, solution thing. So with the onset of Trump 2.0, and the broligarchy that he's brought in with Larry Ellison and Sam Altman and Musk and Bezos and Zuckerberg and, you know, all of the tech billionaires and the tech overlords, all of those guys for years have been screaming that the only way to get people to be on their best behavior, Larry Ellison on record saying this multiple times, is to surveil them all the time in every aspect of their lives. And because
Doesn't God already do that?
well,
Why do we have to have
God,
a government do that?
You forgot. They're God. So they need to see at all times. So Larry Ellison, all of the people that Trump has put into his cabinet, and I want to make sure, in case anybody gets it twisted, I am in no way, shape, or form in favor of Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or anything like that, dude. I think they would be doing the exact same thing, except it would be gayer. Okay, like we would have total digital surveillance wrapped in a rainbow flag. And instead of total digital surveillance in the name of getting rid of the illegals, it would be total digital surveillance in the name of getting rid of hatred or bigotry or something else totally freaking ambivalent that nobody ultimately can really control.
And it's true, you really can't control anybody. I know that the TSA at the airports really try to just give that allure, that vision of grandeur of we have everything under control. You know, human cattle, we'll feed them through the lines, everything will be okay. And then people are showing up with Costco membership cards asking to board their airplanes. Costco membership
With
card.
an ID?
That they're using Costco membership cards as their ID to say, you know who I am, let me on the plane. And they're having to explain to people, no, you need a real ID. And they pull out their wallet and they say, I've got a Costco membership card. I got a Sam's Club membership card. I've got a golf course membership. These are my real identification. I've got all this stuff on the table and you still don't know who I am. And you want me to have a more real ID than a Costco membership card for 14 years and my AAA card with my name on it, my picture here. This whole real ID thing is just confusing everybody. And they've taken how many years to unroll this thing?
Protest of the real ID? Is that what they're doing? Is that on purpose? They're trying to protest the real ID?
You know, it could be a little bit of both. It could be intentional. I don't know what's going on. I just want to go on my vacation. And it could be real people putting up a real fight and playing dumb and saying, oh, here's a real ID. Here's my Costco card. Here's my student ID. Because they don't want to have RFID tags in their paperwork. No one wants it. None of the people want it.
No, it didn't. It went over like a cement brick the first time they tried rolling it out, and then they're like, "Oh well, we'll wait a couple of years and try it again." And I can't imagine just a couple of years. I mean, granted, during them couple of years, they've done things like made everybody stay home, watched entire businesses shut down and forever lose all their life savings, and people went along with it. Like, I don't even know what to tell you at that point when they start taking away your right to earn an income and to keep yourself going, and you say, okay, I don't know what to say for you. And I was going to say earlier, with Steve's thing, if you pay any attention to the videos, at least 50 to 60% of the people there are white. Most of the people speaking that are running their mouths are white. The few times that it's actually a brown person and not a black person or an Asian person, small percentage, they sound perfect. Their English is excellent. They sound like Spanish was like a second language to them and not a first. It's not like every actual illegal that I've ever met. And I live in California. I live in the weed area, in weed growing area. Promise, met a whole lot of illegals. They come up and talk all the time. And every time, it doesn't matter how simple the phrase is. I don't understand it. They don't understand me. There's a Google Translate that confuses both of us even more. That's in between when we try to Google Translate what the other one's saying. It's extreme broken English, and you're getting by on singular words. It's not a sentence. You're like car, tire, air. Oh, you got a flat tire, you need air for your car. You know, like this is the best you're gonna get out of it. And these people are up there giving eloquent speeches. These were American-born people, and then both sides is pretending like there's illegal immigrants involved. And the fact is with Trump coming in this year, the pot growers around here couldn't even find workers. Those guys are already hiding. They don't want to go through this. They keep their head low. They don't run around with fucking jacked up trucks and Mexican flags hanging off the sides, screaming at cops and shit. They duck and run.
The price of blueberries are going to increase because we don't have people picking them? Is that what you're telling me?
Don't most of them come from Mexico anyways?
A lot of the produce that goes to Aldi and Walmart is probably from Mexico, yes. And then people were reminding me before the borders changed, basically all of that was Mexico. Like California was Mexico, Texas was Mexico.
You got to love how they always pick like one certain point in history.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the point that they quit looking at. Like this land hasn't changed. Hire illegal white Canadians, right? Fucking great. That's fucking awesome. But they act like they like whatever point in history they've decided that that's when it starts counting. Like, oh, all land has been stolen back and forth between different peoples fucking the entirety of human history.
Is that the Hatfields and McCoys still going at it after all these years?
Oh, they have a family reunion now. They're mostly good with it. There's a Hatfield and McCoy meetup in Virginia or West Virginia every year. All of the
Do they
relations
pretend to
like
not
that.
get along so that other tourists
No,
show
they
up
just
and
get drunk and hang out?
Okay.
They're like, listen, this might have started over not wanting our two families to hump, but now we get drunk and hump all the time, and it's great.
Right. We've decided that a little bit of Hatfield and McCoy mixing is way better than race mixing. That's kind of their standpoint. Yeah.
So I'm kind of afraid to ask, but how's Elon Musk doing? I heard he had a pretty bad breakup.
Oh, it's nothing a little ketamine can't cure.
So is that part of the information we're supposed to know, that he's a crazy guy on ketamine? And,
But I mean, we done known that.
Well,
That
the
ain't
Doge, the Doge thing. Don't worry about that. They got a little bit crazy. They had ketamine. They had whatever drugs they could find to stay up late and go through the computer code and play Diablo and get high scores on video games and have plenty of time to collect their male specimen to give to other doctors to put into women. That was his big deal, is he wanted to use IVF to have as many children as possible.
Well, what's funny is most of the best examples, all you have to do is watch Rand Paul. He goes in front of the Senate every single year and talks about them. They didn't even have to look it up or figure anything. They just could have wrote down some of the weird shit Rand Paul says during Senate hearings.
Does he have a
Where he
podcast?
talks about overspending.
The Rand Paulcast, where we just listen to everything he says?
I wouldn't do that if I were you, but he definitely has, for at least 14 years that I can think of, every single year went in front of the Senate and for like an hour sat and talked about weird, dumb shit the Senate is spending millions of dollars on.
Yep. Yep. They get one, maybe two senators every 15 to 20 years that get the privilege getting up in front of Congress and go, hey guys, here's what we're all wasting everybody's money on.
Mm-hmm.
And
no
a
objections.
handful of like libertarian leaning Americans hear that and go, "Bah, bah, 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 bah." And then the rest of the country goes, "Why is he upset? I don't know what he's complaining about. What's his problem?" And then the government goes, "We're going to keep stealing from you and we're going to do whatever the fuck we want because you cowards won't stand up to us. Will you? Will you? Hey, we're going to take more from you. You going to stop paying taxes yet? No, of course you're not. Cuck. You going to fucking stop fucking spending all of your money at big box stores? Fuck no. Why would you do that? You going to do what? You going to do something different? No, you're not, coward. We own you. And like that's basically the game of chicken that they're playing with the majority of the populace at this point.
And the thing is just like with the during the jabby, they've already proven if we want you to lose all your money and take away everything you have, we'll do it. We'll do it. And they didn't realize that was, again, just a double down of if you would just for 1 second let your nuts drop. Like, I understand that the vast majority of men in this country have now been taught to take their testicles and put them firmly in control of the nearest woman around them. But if you would just let them fuckers hang, just hang right there between your legs. And you might notice that your chest will grow 3 sizes that day. Your shoulders will straighten back. You know, you might want to, do things like not let everything you have be taken away by a bunch of silly bastards that don't really have that authority. Give it a try.
I mean, it's true. I have a prof song for this. I do. Let's see.
Can you wait till later in the episode before you get us hit with copyright?
Oh, sure.
I like the musical breaks. I like the lyrics and the.
I keep forgetting the whole fucking YouTube is really the only platform that does.
Spotify will do the same thing.
Oh,
Okay.
So Spotify will get really upset if you play music in your streams and then try to upload.
I
that
get it.
to Spotify.
I get it. You've been playing, and this is just like what we're talking about on a much less grand scale. If you don't play by their little games, then they're gonna cast you to the outer reaches, and you have to survive off of Rumble and things like that, and you never end up with the 500,000 fucking subs accounts and shit like that. You never end up being like Andrew Wilson making like $3 to $5 grand a fucking night. You never get to hit those levels. If you want to be in that game, play by their rules. And almost every episode now, because we haven't done the membership thing yet and whatnot, it normally doesn't affect the show. But what they do is they stop people from watching it at that point. They shove it way down there, so it's real hard to find. And they put a little copyright thing on there. The last one that got snagged out, they pulled the show though, was the Eurovision night. They really were protecting that Eurovision. They pulled the show for that one, and I had to go excise it out. And I suspect when I go to do let memberships and super chats happen, I'm gonna have to probably go excise out a substantial amount of these. I think.
Take out all the stuff.
And here's our guest. Sorting his camera out. Wouldn't want him to be less than pretty. I mean, this is the sexiest panel on the interwebs. The sexiest. This is why they care whether we play copyrighted music.
Sometimes we even shower. Sometimes we even shower before a Tuesday stream. Sometimes.
Okay. Well, then let me do something that's already in the public domain. And there's no way that YouTube can actually get mad at us because the person who composed the music and performed it personally released all of it into public domain 7 or 8 years ago, and the dude's still alive.
What a hero.
So if YouTube actually had a problem with it, they could email Tom Lehrer who wrote this song about 60 years ago.
He was fucking great.
And it is this is a song for everyone in Los Angeles. Okay, you don't need to pick up a brick that's been conveniently placed in a pallet.
With no tie straps.
Yeah. Just
Like,
out there
wow.
with Dawson. You don't need to do that. In fact, you could embrace your fellow man in the way that Tom Lehrer is going to set forth here in this particular musical number.
I'd like to start out with telling you something about a very peculiar American custom. 1 week in every February is officially designated as National Brotherhood Week. This means that we're supposed to stop whatever we're doing, burning, killing, whatever, and love everybody else. And it's really quite a strain. Here's a song about National Brotherhood Week. Oh, the white folks hate the black folks, and the black folks hate the white folks. To hate all but the right folks is an old established rule, but during National Brotherhood Week, National Brotherhood Week, see Cassius Clay and Mrs. Wallace dancing cheek to cheek. It's fun to eulogize the people you despise, as long as you don't let them in your school. Oh, the poor folks hate the rich folks, and the rich folks hate the poor folks. All of my folks hate all of your folks. It's American as apple pie. But during National Brotherhood Week, National Brotherhood Week, New Yorkers love the Puerto Ricans 'cause it's very chic. Step up and shake the hand of someone you can't stand. You can tolerate him if you try. Oh, the Protestants hate the Catholics, and the Catholics hate the Protestants, and the Hindus hate the Muslims, and everybody hates the Jews. But during National Brotherhood Week, National Brotherhood Week, it's National Everyone Smile at One Another Hood Week. Be nice to people who are inferior to you. It's only for a week, so have no fear. Be grateful that it doesn't last all year.
There we go.
And he plays his piano too?
Oh, he plays the heck out of that piano, boy.
Wow.
Since he's 15 on a mathematics scholarship to Harvard.
So how's Harvard gonna make it through this year? I heard it's been pretty rough on those guys.
They have lost most of their accreditation. They're going to have to rely solely on alumni and all of the exact same apparatuses that make them their money anyway, including NGOs and the CIA. So they're doing fine. They're doing fine. They have the Rockefeller Endowment and the Carnegie Endowment and the freaking I don't know, name an old family.
There's just new universities up and coming, ready to challenge the established Ivies. I think there's Jordan Peterson University. I know there's Andrew Wilson Debate University. Anyone can open a university right now.
Hey, Great White Pope, you can totally play the Kanye song On the Tent and Whistle, but if you sing it, then you're probably going to get fired. We have proof of that. From the Tower Gang podcast, a little old toad who found himself unemployed after doing a ukulele cover of the new smash hit by Kanye West.
Oh yeah.
Well, the Tom Lehrer song was perfect because it brought up so many points that we're still seeing that exact same point today.
Heck yeah.
Same exact feuds where everything just keeps going in these little revolutions. And Vibe had wanted to talk about generational differences. And while we absolutely are going to be able to find extreme differences, one of the things you're going to notice is that as you get older, you start noticing the same patterns repeating themselves over and over and over. That they, just like a football team, they use that same playbook and just keep running that.
Pattern recognition is important. We had a question about something about a grope.
Oh goodness, our guest is here. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude and interrupt, but
Steve's like that. He likes to, what Steve likes to do is, rather than have guests play things that are copyrighted and get us striked. We've actually had a guest for every show, but through most of them, Steve just leads the dude sitting down at the bottom.
it's true. It's true. I'm trying to get better. I'm working on it. I say daily affirmations in the mirror every day. You are going to let people on screen. You are going to bring people up into the StreamYard so they can participate. And yet, I fall short in both the face of God and deliberating dog-faced dudes. I apologize.
Steve, permission to speak? Permission to speak, Steve?
Sure.
I want to answer the Groiper question. I don't know what that is. It sounds disgusting. It sounds like a young man's game. I don't want to listen to young men talking to microphones, talking about politics, and they don't have any experience with life. So I don't.
Then I suggest you go to the Whatever podcast where you can listen to OnlyFans whores. That would be my suggestion.
That's probably even worse than listening to young angry guys. Like that was the whole Destiny thing. It's like, okay, well, whatever. I'm not going to out anybody's ages.
Are you going to bring the guest up though?
Yeah, I should do that. I should.
Yeah,
if fucking Marcus will shut the fuck up. Yeah.
I'm sorry
Yeah.
I get talkative. I had a little drink of
Chatty
cold water
Cathy over
and
there.
it woke me right up.
All right, Ben, would you like to introduce this evening's guest? You booked him.
Well, there's not a lot to know yet. He's kind of new on the scene. I've bumped into him or watched him at least on a few chats. We've bumped into each other on a panel or two, and I found him a very reasonable person, well thought out, well spoken. He seemed more where he's gonna do better in the long discussion rather than the off the cuff blood sport type debating, and so I thought he would be perfect to have a nice chat with. So his name's Vibe. He's just getting started, and he can put up any information if he has a place that he wants you guys to go to. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Hey guys, Marcus. Surprise! I'm over 50, so I have a little bit of life experience. You don't have a 25-year-old here spouting out his world views.
Thank goodness.
I will actually say, when I was in college, I think I went through a 2-year Destiny phase, but then my brain woke up a little bit and realized a lot of my own thoughts were pretty stupid. I had to challenge myself. So, I think it's something that we all go through when we're younger. We think our parents told us everything. We learned that they did something wrong, or they told us something that was incorrect. And from that point, we question everything our parents say, and we go against everything. And then we get a little older and realize, actually, our parents were right about most of the stuff, and we shouldn't have challenged them on that. So, it's part of growing up, and some of us do it at age 60, and some of us figure it out in our 20s. It's different for everybody, and when they want to open their mind. I mean, I think my mom at 70 is still at 14 years old. So, not everybody has that gift. But yeah, thanks for having me on. I am Vibe, and I think I probably align with a lot of your guys' views. I am a Christian right. I love to be wrong, and I love to be taught like what I'm wrong about. But if you can't prove me wrong, then I'm going to show you where you're wrong. It has been fun. I've been doing the online debates for about 4 weeks. Actually, I started off on the Raging Tomato. I just started doing the short-term blood debates on Grid One's channel, which was pretty fun, and do have a long-form debate coming up with Emmett sometime next week on what's his name, the chairman of the board's site. So I think that'll be fun. That'll be my first long term. But yeah, I heard it's kind of chill here, since I think it sounds like we're mostly like-minded. It's going to be more just kind of like digging into the weeds. And while I was driving home from Taekwondo practice with my son, I was listening to you guys starting to go into the riots, and the riots that were about 40 minutes away from me until some spun up in Santa Ana today, which is only about 18 minutes from me. So I did find some interesting discussions there. I mean, I do think it's super silly. that we're actually fighting against a law that makes sense. And I mean, I actually met my wife overseas when I was living overseas, and we got married and had one kid out there, and then we came back to California here where we live now and had two more kids. So I had three of us had U.S. passports when we got here, and two of us didn't. Right now, all five of us actually hold passports, U.S. passports. We did it the long way, the expensive way, and the right way. So when I see people up there protesting lawbreakers, it's like that young 20s thinking, and it drives me nuts. And I did hear somebody say, "Hey, when would the right side like take to the streets and protest?" Well, we did raid the Capitol.
I said that too. I agreed with you in terms of that. I was there. I was in DC.
He's got a ton of footage that nobody else has because he was doing it.
Yeah. On the ground for that. But yeah, it really is a fascinating thing because on the one hand, like the way that I've seen it is that you have the left totally mischaracterizing the issue and doing what the left does, which is being driven to protest for nonsensical reasons that are going to make them look retarded. And they're falling in line for it because they do it every freaking time. And simultaneously, you've got the right completely mischaracterizing the issue from afar, which is a much more comfortable and familiar position for the right. But at no point do either mischaracterizations ever find a homogenous little middle where some reality may lie. And so it's my hope that over the next couple of days, at least, before they get to this weekend's No Kings Ultimate Limited Hangout PSYOP, let's go make sure people get shot with rubber bullets and, all kinds of, let's set a Waymo on fire or whatever. Like, I'm hoping we can arrive at some rationality before it gets really dumb in a couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, the best way I personally think would have not been to let it go for 5 days and actually maybe escalate or just come down harder. But I just don't think LA had the resources for that. And even the soldiers that are in Pendleton right now, they're going through a 2-day training before they actually deploy them to LA. So that means they're not showing up tomorrow. They're showing up like Thursday, right? And I'm sure they're going through, like, they know this is highly covered. They have to make sure that nobody does anything stupid and that, they're always trying to de-escalate. And who knows what's going on, but I think it looks like in Santa Ana, the Orange County Sheriff's Department actually was actually not standing there. They were moving forward, and if anybody protested or didn't move out of the way, they took them down, cuffed them, put them to the side, and kept on moving forward. So it looked like the Santa Ana version was being shut down really quick, and it's a shame that
you're getting to the wealthy areas when you get up into that. You're starting to run into some wealth now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's been my experience over, I don't know, almost 30 years at this point, that police presence at a protest is never, ever, ever about de-escalation. It's always and only about, hey man, me and the boys are gonna go bust up some hippies and it's gonna be a blast and we're gonna get all of the shots in, and there's no accountability. And so now we're at a point where, the taxpayer subsidized enforcement arm of the state has a green light to go commit as much violence as they want against the citizenry. Because I don't believe for a moment that there are illegals at that protest. They're hiding and trying to not get deported. They're not on a dirt bike waving a Indivisible or Sunrise Movement funded Mexican flag, brand new out of the plastic, for a photo op. So we've got the subsidized enforcement arm of the state versus the citizenry, which historically only works out in terms of less rights and less freedoms for the citizenry.
Well, we also have to look at the citizenry that is owning the stores around there. But I mean, actually,
the store owners are just as screwed as the freaking hippie that got his skull busted open. It's the law applies across the board. The only people that are going to obey it are the store owners in the first place.
Right.
So they've lost out 3 times as much.
I mean, who do you think these people that are in the streets, right? You're saying it's not the illegals, right? And I was trying to come up with this in my own mind. I was thinking probably somebody who knows somebody who has been affected by ICE, and they're upset, right? They're probably legal, maybe they're not illegal, but not worried. You've got the adrenaline junkies that just like to mess stuff up. I mean, we've got gangs there, they've got opportunity, and then we've got the opportunists. They're like, hey, maybe some store windows will break and I can steal some T-Mobile cell phones. But do you think there's actual like paid people out there?
I would
yes,
bet
absolutely.
my farm and every single thing on it.
Yeah, we were showing on my show yesterday morning the advertisements for bodies to come fill in protest space. And yeah.
So there is a Craigslist listing out there that a comedian put out there a couple days ago as a joke.
Sam Tripoli?
Yeah, I'd have to look. I don't remember what it was because I actually was questioning this, like how many people are actually paid. And there's definitely people that are paid to do photo ops, giving signs and things like that. But I was more curious about because Trump's saying the guy with the hammer breaking up the street to provide rocks was a paid instigator from something even bigger.
Agent provocateur is what they call it, is the official term for this. It's an agent provocateur. And guarantee, like, go back through all the footage. There's nobody speaking broken English. There's no person that's like, hey man, I just work, family.
So no, man, I just wanted to cross the border, man, because I thought there'd be opportunity for me familia.
No, it's not. That's not who they're. No,
there's nobody there. It's actually more than half white,
and then a bunch of like
have people that could be Mexican, could be Native American, could be
Filipino.
Yeah, there's just
a huge contingent of Filipino gangsters in LA, and they freaking look Mexican because they dress Mexican, they talk Mexican, they act Mexican. It's freaking ridiculous.
Goths.
Yeah, there's a whole subculture of it, and besides that, we all know the Filipinos are just Mexicans with good credit, so it tracks.
Well, I mean, they both have the half Spanish blood, right, from their native country, and then the Spanish invasions or conquests, right?
Yeah, and the ones that are out doing the protests, standing in front of cops. Like I said, I live in a heavy weed growing area, like the most famous weed growing area in the country. I live smack dab in it, and there's illegals normally every year everywhere, and if a cop comes around, they disappear. They aren't walking around wearing gangster looking clothes. They aren't driving jacked up trucks with Mexican flags hanging off the sides. They're wearing button up shirts, like looking like cowboys usually, and driving around in older pickup trucks and things like that, or Tacomas. Like, they're keeping as low key as possible because
my favorite sticker is Johnny Cash.
Yeah. Because if anybody says anything about them, they're gone. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If they run into law enforcement in any way, shape, or form,
done.
Good night, you're gone. So their best weapon is to stay as low key as possible. These are not the young college kids with perfect English sitting out there eloquently screaming into a microphone. Those aren't illegal.
Generation freaking Mexican family that's worth $3.5 billion in freaking Silicon Valley or up in the North Bay, because you live in California, Vibe, you know this. If you're in SoCal, you send your kids to NorCal for college. If you're in NorCal, you send your kids to SoCal for college, or they all wind up in Santa Cruz and they turn into faggots, and then you don't talk to them anymore. Like, that's just how it goes. But and so down south right now, you've got a bunch of like North Bay and Sacto, and maybe even some like Sonoma County rich kids down there, and they have only been taught California coastal liberalism. Like they don't know anything outside of that. And if you try to talk to them, Vibe, it is an experience. It's downright painful.
I've got a 21-year-old about to turn 21 and an 8 and a 7-year-old. And my 21-year-old, when he found out that I was going to vote for Trump, asked me out to lunch, and he had 2 topics. 1, how it was the worst decision ever and how I need to listen to Kamala. And 2, how bad ICE is. And I'm like, didn't I raise you better for this? Where'd you learn these things? Like, take me, and I didn't even shut him down. I'm just like, take me through your thought process on this and explain to me. And, you know, I think him and his friends actually wanted to go up to the LA riots because he went to high school with a bunch of people that were born in America, but their parents crossed illegally. So from his high school, he's got friends that are worried about this. And he feels like the United States is going against like his best friends. And this is the young liberal mind, you know, trying to sort things out. Like, why would you want to hurt people that are good people that I went to high school with? And, you know, and yet he actually had to get his passport here. We had to get him a green card. We had to do all these things. He actually had to go through the legal process. And here he is protecting the illegals. And it is, so I have talked to them, and it's very interesting to see how their minds work. But, you know.
You said you were out of the country. Were you doing missions work or just?
No, I was running a company out of the Philippines.
Okay. Interesting. I saw you on, I think, the Powder Dusty's live stream. You were talking with Balderson. You didn't get a whole lot of words in because there's a lot of loudmouths that were saying nothing real loudly and talking over everybody else. And I thought, you know, we got to get this guy on.
To be on a panel with Melanie. It's all just going to turn into whatever Melanie. Melanie will suck all the attention into something about Melanie. And be honest about this spirit of the age. Communist chicks aren't hot. They're gross. They're nasty. They have fucking weird hair. They got piercings all over. What it is they're easy. Be honest. They're sluts. And so the ones that are super hot, that's the one you want to take home to mom. That chick's conservative, ready to have 3 kids, take care of your home. Absolute Barbie doll, absolute gorgeous. Them women aren't hot. They're just easy.
Is the chick attractive because she's willing to fornicate with you?
Do we need to revisit the hot, crazy Matrix? Do we?
How many drinks?
Beer goggles. Yeah, you know, we're kind of at this point where we're trying to figure out what's going on. It's 2025. The vibe shift has shifted multiple times. Where's the foundation? There's this idea of Heritage America, you know, the golden days after World War II, 1950s, Leave It to Beaver, stay-at-home moms, trad cath wives, the takeover of what do they call themselves? Orthodox Christian bros, ortho bros, who are taking over the debate spaces. So maybe let's hear your opinion, your thoughts about maybe your experience with talking with Orthodox bros. I don't know if you're in the Orthodox camp or if you're Southern Baptist or where exactly you are kind of in that Christian denominational Venn diagram circle thing umbrella under Catholicism, Protestantism. Where do you find yourself?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, I was born and baptized Catholic. My mom was married before me, and her husband got remarried, and he couldn't get remarried under the Catholic Church unless one person took blame. And he basically kind of forced my mom to take the blame. So she ran away from religion. My dad also grew up in the Catholic schools all the way through college, and then eventually went to a non-Catholic school for graduate school. And he kind of rejected Christ, but my grandmother still took me to church every day. And I actually always enjoyed the sermons. And even when I was going through my destiny phase, I came up with a new religion called nullism, not nihilism, saying, why do I even have to worry about this? Why do I have to believe or not believe? Everybody says you have to be an atheist or you have to be or agnostic or something on a religious side. And I'm like, can I just remove the whole thing and make it a null? That was in my destiny stage. But then I did come back and joined a Catholic church until I got married with my wife. When we were in the Philippines, she would take me to what I called a rock and roll church. Which basically is a Baptist type church, you know, where they do the music and they have fun. We came back here. We went to my Catholic church. She didn't really like it. we joined another one, and we actually became a Southern Baptist denomination, but we got kicked out 2 years ago of the SBC, Southern Baptist Council, because our new pastor, his wife also is a pastor, and that's not allowed under the Protestant. It is interesting in the Orthodox, because I also, besides being on Flow States, I've been on some panels on Jim Bob's site, and he's following the Andrew Wilson train. And it's funny because I have a lot of white people that I'm actually talking to in the background. They're like, I'd love to have you on my show. Are you Orthodox? Okay, you have to change Orthodox. So Andrew is changing everybody to Orthodox that's doing the online debate streams. So I did some research into it. It is really interesting on why they consider themselves the true religion. I even tried to start putting together a debate on how that's wrong. However, it is very hard to actually cite how they're not the true religion of Christianity. But I am not Orthodox. But I have been researching it. So when people ask me,
I'm not Christian myself, so I'm not familiar enough with all the interplay between any of the denominations to make any kind of determination like that. Obviously, I have my own, being a non-Christian, I have all my own information, and no matter what branch they put it under, there's a whole lot of things that I'd love to get into it with those guys, but they don't show up for debates. They're kind of cowardly about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always willing to
Bros
discuss
are
it.
pretty slim on the ground. They seem to want a really easy layup.
Yeah.
And like, if they can't just dunk on an idiot all night, they don't want to hang out.
So this is funny because when I was doing my research, I was interested on what their sermons look like compared to like a Catholic sermon or a Baptist sermon, right? And this goes right to the Whatever podcast, because I saw Andrew Wilson basically shaming, right, the OF girls. And there was a critic on the board, and they're like, shaming is not something you do as a Christian. And he's like, why not? He's like, Jesus shamed and all this stuff. And to bring it back to the Orthodox sermon that I watched, it's very old school with, they sing every word. And even when they're preaching, they do it in a singing manner. And it was a little crazy to me, just it's not what I'm used to. But then at the end of the sermon, the pastor goes, okay, the deacon. It's like some notes for people. We're doing this charity raising, so make sure you reach out to your friends and get them to volunteer because we need volunteers. He's like, actually, scratch that. He's like, go out and shame them until they show up to it. And I'm like, oh my God, Andrew was actually right. I mean, with the Orthodoxy, this was coming from one of the deacons, which kind of blew my mind. And I mean, Jesus did, get upset. I mean, he ran in, he called people hypocrites, and he yelled and he got angry. He is not this guy where he's not a hippie. He's not like, oh, kumbaya, peace to everybody, right? But I'm not an expert. I've read the book and I've gone through it multiple times. I've gone to my pastor multiple times going, this doesn't make sense to me. I added up the numbers of Deuteronomy and they don't add up. And then I search it and I see that lots of scholars also have some explanations for this. So there always are some inconsistencies, but I do actually understand the Bible from front to back. And from my understandings, there really aren't any inconsistencies when you look at it from the beginning to the end. So, I mean, I'm always willing to talk about it, but I am not the expert and I definitely could be making some errors. And that's the biggest thing with Orthodox. Orthodox say we don't interpret the Bible. Because the people that are teaching us are a lineage from the apostles and are teaching what Jesus actually meant. And Baptists go, okay, we can read this and we can kind of change it as we want, depending on how we want to determine it. But God only wanted to determine it one way. Sorry to be so long-winded on that, but it is a very interesting area, and I love it.
You're the guest. We prefer that you speak until you're done speaking. 100%. And I don't disagree with a lot of what you're saying. I don't understand. I do get what they're saying, where people in an almost lawyeristic fashion take and twist and turn things to try and make them mean what they want to mean. But on the same token, there's a real problem where these guys are quoting from books and whatever other works they're quoting from and getting their information from. And I gotta tell you, I have pretty good reading comprehension. It's pretty wicked good. And some of the things that they say don't make any sense. And especially if you ever get into some of the channels that actually go through those things and go through it in the Hebrew or in the Greek, whichever one, in the original statements. And a lot of what they say doesn't make sense. Like, and I don't get into everything that the guy says, but there's some very definitive, there's that Lady Babylon fella, and he is one of the world authorities on Greek, and he's looked at the original text. He's had access to all these kind of things, and he says specifically, and he states it in Greek, that Jesus was found when he got arrested with a naked little boy and things like that. There's like a lot of, and you don't hear any of them talk about things like that. And while I'm not going to say that that's like the most horrible thing or try and ascribe intent to it, I don't know what was going on, but I do know that they don't talk about these kind of things, and it's right there in their book. Why don't they talk about it? Why is their story so much different?
I would like to know which story that one is, because I don't remember that in the official canon of the I read the North American NASB, which is
it's not in any of the translations. It's only in the original text. All the translators decided they should leave those pieces out. In the original text, that's there. And even the well-studied ones don't disagree with it. They get a little butthurt about it, and they're like, yeah, so... which I don't necessarily disagree. It's not like it stated what he was doing with the little boy, just that there was a little boy there, and that he specifically stated that he's not somebody that sleeps with little boys. There was a word, and I don't remember what it is. I don't study ancient Greek. But he screamed out, "I'm not this." And so apparently Marcus and I and Steve, we all tend to delve into the occult world, and what one would assume was that there was some sort of an occult or religious ceremony going on, and this guy, he ties it to something he calls the purple, and it's
getting into anointing,
it gets very
like anointing oil. It's a creative
But,
liberty thing. So the people that listen to Amon Hillman don't listen to Orthodox bros. They don't listen to pastors or deacons or church. They don't care. They already want to not like the figure of Jesus. So they're going to listen to someone who says, well, these are some embarrassing things to talk to your grandparents and your church going friends about, just to really embarrass them and throw them off. It's sort of the Marilyn Manson school of, what can we do to be scary and spooky and rebellious and make everyone angry? You did mention the NASB. That was my textbook in biblical studies in college. Steve, did you use the NASB too?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
So if that's kind of the text that we're familiar with, biblical scholars and biblical studies and Christian colleges are using the NASB, and none of us read that this event happened in the Garden of Gethsemane when Jesus.
It might have even
going
been
to be arrested.
NRSV.
Yep, these are the English translations that are
Yeah.
most commonly accepted. So we're not here to quibble about doctrine or legalism or specific religious interpretations from whatever side it is. I guess what we could really focus on tonight will be the purpose of Christianity in American culture, the heritage American legacy that the church has left. Maybe Billy Graham, who's the good guy, bad guy, paid actor, looked into Martin Luther King a little bit, and the idea that he was being a religious leader, but was also not a philanthropist. I think the word's philanderer. So he had a lot of women on the side, and then
much younger women.
Sure. So he was marching through Selma. They were back of the bus, front of the bus, whatever they're doing, non-peaceful protesting, civil rights movement. The civil rights movement kind of forms some momentum, and then it shifts into sort of a gay rights issue. So one of the other founders with MLK was this other guy who was a closeted black gay man who then took over the civil rights thing, which then led into feminism and women's rights movements and all these things. And then at some point, if there's a Catholic church, a Protestant church, the Southern Baptist Convention, what were they doing to sort of react to where the culture was going? Do you have any historical thoughts about that? Were you on the bus in Selma and marching across the bridges with MLK?
No, I'm not that old. So yeah, that's a lot to unpack. And I didn't know I was going into a religious talk here, but I'm okay with it.
You know
Just
what?
putting everything on the table.
You gotta. So one of the things you gotta understand about Marcus is he's the master of the mulberry bush, and by the end of the talk, you'll realize that
I love
all
the Andy
that's
Griffin
somehow
show.
tied in together to the thing that you were supposed to, but it only happens in Marcus's fucking string dot string dot string dot string dot head. But by the end, you'll get it.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, because where were you were asking about Christianity, its role in America, and then you brought it through a historical context. And I mean, before I go into anything when it comes to Christianity, I definitely will say I am not an expert on scripture, right? I am one of the laymen's, and I have to go to my pastor all the time and ask for clarity. And sometimes I even challenge my pastor on that. But so I don't want anything that I say on here for people to go, well, you're wrong, because I might be, right? So I'll just concede to that right away. When you were going into like Martin, when you said Martin Luther, you weren't talking about Martin Luther, you're talking about Martin Luther King, right?
Not the Lutheran guy. We're talking the black guy, Martin Luther King, and the civil rights movement in the 1960s. What was
because we can tie some of those things together, right? Martin Luther wasn't part of the woke agenda, but the woke agenda I think started somewhere in like the late 1920s, but didn't really start getting popular until the 1940s. And now we are not talking about today's woke agenda, by the way. We're talking about a total different woke agenda. But it does tie back into what you were saying, because it is funny that even though the woke agenda started before Martin Luther King never considered himself woke. But, you know, we have that original wokeism. And I would say that the Christian church, you know, it would be definitely split on that, depending on if you're talking about the money churches and the grassroots ones, right? You could probably make a pretty good guess that the Baptist Church were very instrumental on recognizing that first woke wave. But then we'll have a split when wokeism after Martin Luther King, and actually more recently, I think it probably started trickling in the 90s and towards the ends of the noughties. Started taking wave with the gender and gay crew, right? Gays and lesbians. And I think even now the world's gotten so crooked on that even gays and lesbians don't want to be a part of the gender battle anymore. They're like, get us out of this. We don't want to be mixed in it. You know, can we remove the LG from everything else? Which is pretty funny. But then if we look at Christianity there, we definitely have different Christian purviews when it comes to all of those historically, because we shouldn't be accepting that. We're acceptant of them, but we're not acceptant of the practice. Right. So, I mean, Jesus always went to the prostitutes and the taxpayers. So what if it was in this world, he'd be going to this gender spectrum as well, to try to bring them home. I mean, I feel a little trapped here because I think Christianity has done a lot outside of racism and sexism, and that is more for the family unit, right? So if you look through history, it had a very strong presence in marriage, and then the government came in and supported that because that helped produce strong nuclear families and reproduction. The stay-at-home mom is part of that, right? The head of the household is taking care of the family. The wife is the center of the family, and you know keeps the justice in there and keeps the order and control. You could even actually go outside of this whole box and actually look at how every business is run today and the structures they are run on. All came from a foundation of the way Christians actually run their churches, how they organize, how they build, how they promote, how they advertise. I'm a businessman myself. I own my own business. And my business started going so much better when I became active as a leader in the church and learned how the church ran. And I'm like, oh my God, I can run my business so much better using these same tactics. And some of the things I was doing well in my business, I brought to the church. The church isn't actually looking for money. They're looking for souls and looking for saving those souls. It's a great, some people might say it's horrible for a church to run like a business, but when you're trying to save lives, that's huge. And I mean, the final piece on that in the history of the church and where the church is today, and looking at like Doge and things like that, we've seen that the government has a total history of not spending funds well. Too much overhead. The money doesn't get to where it needs to be. But the whole time, all the way since, even before Jesus, the churches have been out there actually doing these programs and doing them better. They've been able to get more money there. They've been able to help. I mean, I believe in a hand up. I just don't believe the government should be giving us the hand up. I believe your next door neighbor should be. I believe your community should be. And if you look at the sizes of the churches and the way Christianity is growing now, we are not just giving hands up to our neighbors. I mean, my church flies hundreds of people like to Ghana and all these places, to give a hand up. We're doing it internationally. My former pastor, actually, I'm not going to bring up his name, but he actually was mentored by Billy Graham. So he actually really likes Billy Graham. And I kind of had my reservations about him until I really started looking into him, because he is a flashy pastor. And he kind of gave me the ick when I was young. But when I really
heard Billy Graham called America's Pope.
Yeah, but he didn't come up with that, right? So
other people have described him as such.
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't read his biography. I haven't dug into the dirt of him, so I don't know much about him. But I did do some minor research, because, like I said, originally his sermons gave me the ick. But then my pastor I loved and knew him, and when he talked about Billy Graham and the things he did for him and some of the things he taught him, I was like, sometimes you can't judge a book by its cover.
What would you attribute the rise in roles in various churches throughout the U.S. and over the last couple of years?
Quickly though, yes, that is breastfeeding going on my shoulders. Yes, that is what's happening.
Okay. Life. New little life happening.
So the rise in roles in churches?
No, I mean the rise in like membership roles. Because you just mentioned that it does, and I agree that it seems like more and more people are gravitating towards some various sect of Christianity, whether it's Catholicism, Protestantism, or any of the various offshoots of churches within Protestantism. So I'm curious as to what you think the reason behind that might be.
Yeah, I mean, this is just my instinct. I'd love to actually do some research to see if there's any studies on that out there. My instinct says that because the four of us are sitting here on YouTube, and how many people do we have watching right now? So we're
streaming to like 8 different places, and okay. Steve and I and Marcus have been around for quite a long time, and Steve and I were very outspoken, and I actually had a giant channel at the time, and I was very well known on a bunch of other very large channels, and we were outspoken against the reactions by the government to the cough, and
cowpokes.
Yeah, like I was on the first big anti video that was against it, that like David Icke and all them.
Yep.
What did you say?
We will do more research. We're just gathering a lot of these topics. He said he'll be right back. So, So chat's going to keep us accountable to, put some notes in our chat so we can refer back to all the topics we wanted to get deeper into. We're kind of just opening up the picnic basket and throwing everything out and seeing what the ants pick up.
That's what Marcus does.
Yeah, just make a mess. We'll clean
so
up later.
We got pretty much axed on YouTube. Steve got his show completely taken. I got mine taken. Everybody in that that was on that first video got their shows taken. So we're a lot bigger on other platforms. Like if you go over on like Rockfin, Steve's like 16 of the top 20 shows. So I mean, we're just
True.
YouTube. My one is all right. They definitely keep it down, but I think we had a couple thousand on Rumble last week.
Not a lot of people with Rumble accounts, so they're not chatting, but they're using Rumble to watch the stream.
They watch and listen, but they don't chat so much on Rumble because you got to actually sign into an account or whatever.
They have a cell
But
phone
I think
number
we had a
to
couple
verify.
thousand on Rumble last week. I don't know. I don't go around and look, to be honest with you, bro.
It's okay. I mean, it wasn't actually. It was more of a point that like here the four of us are communicating because we're creatures that just need to communicate.
Yeah.
And COVID plunged everybody into having to do that. But even before COVID, the new younger generations, they're not going out and meeting on the neighborhood block corner anymore, right? They're texting. There's even college classes now on how to talk on the phone. Apparently, it's been reported that teenage kids actually start having high anxiety when forced to actually have a phone conversation. The human body and the human mind is not designed for that type of behavior. And this whole digital world that my generation, Gen X, when we were sitting in front of a computer, it did nothing. We're like, what can we make it do? We made it do everything.
Can
Now
we
the
see
new
Marsha
generation-
Brady's boobies? That's what we
Yeah.
cared about. Is there a picture of Kurt Cobain blowing his brains out? That's what we looked at.
Yeah, and so
in
I
the
think
brand new days of the internet, and then we went
yeah.
outside because our parents made us.
When we turned the computer off at night, we didn't want to waste the electricity.
Oh, you got your ass whooped.
And then finally, I mean, this world is kind of going a little bit crazy. And I think it finally kind of reached that tipping point where people are like, I need something. I need something. I don't know what it is, but my heart is calling for something. And I think the young people are starting to feel that, and they're coming to the church to get connected and get off of devices and, become a part of something bigger. And that's just my gut. But like I said, I don't have any studies to back that up.
I was
Yeah.
genuinely curious as to what your opinion on. We're getting to know you, man. This, I mean, it might seem like a little bit formal, but mostly, we're getting to know you, and we're bullshitting, and just kind of.
So
great.
in the heart of that,
and by the way, I agree with you. Especially to the latter part that you just spoke to, in terms of it being ridiculous out there and people cleaving to anything tangible that can give them, a little bit of guidance or, some sort of foundation. And I would much rather see people gravitate towards religion than the state, as far as that goes, because I don't think that there are any answers other than enslavement from the state. And at least with religion, you have the opportunity to completely expand your perception of how the world works and events move and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys don't mind, I'm having a minor child emergency.
Go for it, man.
Go deal with that, bro. Go deal with
Yeah.
it.
I'm just gonna mute and turn the camera off, and I can probably be back in about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Do your thing.
Yeah, go deal with it.
All right, thanks, guys.
When you get back, I'm gonna challenge a few of the things that you said, though.
Right.
Now, I'm not gonna do it hard like I would with the Ortho Bros, but we'll see how this goes.
And we'll totally look the other way as you're putting your belt back on too.
Is that
There's a
corporal
verse for
punishment?
that.
Yeah, I agree with the need to communicate, to reduce the anxiety, to have a community to be grounded in your neighborhood. I think that was always kind of the best thing that a church existed for. And these small towns, they'd build the church, and everybody, because they live in the town, they would attend the church because that's where all the civics would happen, all the discussions would happen.
And I would challenge that this isn't something that's derivative of the church for white people anyways. This is something of derivative of heathenism, of paganism. This is something that was happening long before the church ever showed up on our lands. And we killed a whole bunch of them to start out with for a long time. So that stuff didn't start showing up till about 900 AD, 950, somewhere in there. 1000, 1100s when they talk about the conversion time where the different countries were starting to go into Christianity. This lifestyle where you can read Germania and it flat says that heathen people lived in strict marriages, strict monogamous marriages. They wouldn't even have sex with people. Even the unmarried ones wouldn't have sex with other people. If you can't find a good wife amongst your people, then keep it to yourself, bro. Go off and go to war or something. Go swing an axe, but don't be doing that. And they were super strict about it, super strict about their monogamy. The wives had rights. You couldn't just be some schlub of a husband. If you were, she had every right to divorce you. Like you had to act in honor and pride. And all these things with the community and everything, that was all representative already for white people. The church didn't do that. That's something that the church bent itself to in order to accommodate white people, to drag them into the Abrahamic religions. They had to keep enough of the things, and I've got a small list of them. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to go hog like I'm saving some of this for the orthos. If any of them ever decide to show up and have a little debate, I got some cards up the sleeves. You should have imagined that.
Well, don't say that. Now you're frightening them. You're increasing their anxiety. They're going to be afraid to talk on the phone with you.
Well,
They're already afraid.
And smarter than me and Andrew is, and
Ben doesn't have fake lips and tits. They won't go anywhere near him.
I don't
He's
wear
not
hot
an easy
pink.
fucking slam dunk. They're all fucking cowards.
I don't wear
Every
hot
last
pink.
one of
I can
them.
open up jars. Like I can throw bales. My forearms aren't the same size at the top and the bottom. Like there's a distinct.
Is that? Yeah.
So
I
they
I
ever show up-
understand that, on average, I have fairly skinny wrists, but I also have
Sarah
fairly
Tomato!
massive fucking forearms.
Hi, Sarah.
What up, Raging Tomato?
Talking shit about the orthros while our guest deals with his child. I know you understand these kind of things. I'm a grandpa now. 8 grandkids. Love you, Sarah.
Which is crazy because he only had one kid. No, I'm
yeah. 1 plus 1 plus 1.
1 plus 1.
And your son had a son, and your son's son had a son who had a son who had a son. Who begot? It's all the those long lineages of the family trees in the Bible. Did you ever read those?
See, that would be hilarious if he was actually Ben Balderson. Yeah, it was like, BEN BIN.
Ben, son of Balderson, son of
Ben Balderson.
I have to write that out in long form.
I should dig up the Sons of Balderson are coming. I have a song that a friend of ours made, said the Sons of Balderson are coming. Like, yeah. Not even all my kids, only about half of them have even checked in. I'll probably end up with like 16 or 18 grandkids.
You were speaking about the role of, would you say that was shame built around the heathenism communities, where people would feel the weight of their shame if they weren't behaving, how do you say politely, not having sexual relations that are inappropriate for the community, and everybody would know what was going on?
Oh, super shaming. The heathens were all about shaming. Like they would not talk to you. Like if you were not acting acceptable, they'd look down on you. Here's another interesting fact. Actually, at least according to Caesar, he couldn't understand the heathen version of slavery. He said it's basically like a landlord. They have to give them a cut of their crops and live there. And even at that, they're looked down on. So it behooves you to work your way out of slavery, so that way you can be a free man, which was available to everybody. Gotta keep them dogs. I got my tobacco on my lap right now. and yes, 40-year-old women are attractive. I wasn't putting an age on that. I was saying that the communist type women, things like that.
Oh yeah, no, communist women are roundly unattractive regardless of what age they are. And just because they're 23 and going through a liberation phase, again, like Ben was saying, that just makes them easy. It doesn't make them hot.
So that was the
and I do get the
Crazy
understanding.
Matrix.
Like, I think it's kind of like cannabis, where if you've never smoked it, it stinks really bad, and you're like, oh, why is that? Well, at least when we were young, now it smells like fruity asshole candy cane or something.
Mine smells like apple fritter right now.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, when we were young, anyways, the four of us on the panel, it smelled usually like cat piss or skunk's ass. Neither of which is, to most people, a particularly joyful scent, unless you've gotten high from it, and then all of a sudden your brain switches those receptors, and this thing that you naturally thought smelled bad, you now associate with that feeling, and you're like, yeah, that's great. Like, so the same thing's happening with these socialist communist girls, because they're easy and they got their pecker touched. Their brain made that association, and then now they're hot. No, they're not. They're just sluts, and not good ones. You would never want to and you got to make sure you just don't touch it. Do not touch it. It's bad. You don't want to procreate with that. Welcome back, Vibe.
So the context of this was, we're discussing. There's a gentleman who had a video out for other young men to find marriageable mates, and it was called the Hot and Crazy Matrix. So you have to have, for the young men, she has to be physically attractive, but she can't be too crazy. So he's trying to find the sweet spot. There was an Orthodox.
I mean, we can go to it right now. I happen to have it handily queued up and ready to go.
Well, let's look at it.
Was he Orthodox?
Marcus is dying to keep derailing. He knows where I'm good. I'm not gonna let
this
you
particular
Marcus.
gentleman. I don't
can do
believe
that.
is Orthodox. No, I just
So we're
think
gonna
he's
come
a
back
nerd
right back
with
to
a
where
pocket
this is supposed to
protector,
go.
Yes,
and a tie.
This is the business guy who's talking Hot Crazy Matrix.
He really does explain this phenomenally well, though.
We had the Hot and Holy Matrix, where it was from an Orthodox priest telling young Orthodox men what women were most eligible for marriage. This is, I think, maybe a secular version of that, just for any young men.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, not.
That's what I was trying to clarify.
Definitely a secular version. Yes.
Okay, so this is the Universal Hot Crazy Matrix. It's everything a young man needs to know about women. I've developed this on my own over 46 years of living on the earth. So this is how it works. You have your crazy axis and your hot axis. Hot is, as usual, measured from 0 to 10. We're all familiar with that. Crazy is measured from 4 to 10 because, of course, there's no such thing as a woman who's not at least a 4 crazy. So you got 4 to 10. This is your hot crazy line right here. Very important that you keep in mind where the hot crazy line is. As a rule, this is your no-go zone. We do not hang around and date and marry women who are not, at least in our mind, a 5. So this is your no-go zone. You don't go here. We just rule this out. Life is better this way. That's the way it is. All right. Above a 5 and to about an 8, and below the crazy line, this is your fun zone. You can hang out here and meet these girls and spend time with them. That's your fun zone. But keep in mind, when you're in the fun zone, you want to move out of the fun zone to a more permanent location. Okay? So that's the fun zone above a 5, hot, below an 8, hot, and below the crazy line. This means these are most of the time not crazy. Okay. Above the danger zone, above the crazy line, we have the danger zone. This is your redheads, your strippers, anyone named Tiffany. This is hairdressers. This is where your car gets keyed. You get a bunny in the pot. Your tires get slashed, and you wind up in jail. Now that we have some of the chart filled in, we got a couple more pieces to put in. But at this point, understand something. This is not a static environment. This is a situation where you have got to use this matrix over time to develop some reliable data. It's like a dope chart, okay? Because at any moment in time, any woman that you have previously located on this chart can vanish from that location and appear anywhere else on the chart. So what you have to do is over time, collect some data. And once you have a cluster of data points, you can begin to consider that reliable.
That's right, Steve. I'm going to keep
Now,
this on track and
moving
hammer
on,
them on the Christian
you
things
have
here in a minute.
this zone here. This is below the crazy line, above an 8
Nice.
hot,
We didn't
but
mean like
still,
30.
about a 7 crazy. This is your date zone. You can stay in the date zone indefinitely. These are women that you introduce to your friends and your family. They're good looking and they're reasonably not crazy most of the time. Okay, so you can stay here indefinitely. Now, above an 8 hot and between about a 7 and a 5 crazy, this is your wife zone. Okay, when you meet this girl, you should consider a long-term relationship. This zone is not scaled to size. This is a representation and not an actual. This is not a pie chart showing you how many of these people are out there. This is simply a representation of what you're after. You want to be 5 to 7 crazy above an 8 hot. That's your wife zone. Okay. Now, below a 5 crazy and above an 8 hot, this is your unicorn zone. These things don't exist. If you find a unicorn, please capture it safely, keep it alive. We'd like to study it and maybe look at how to replicate that, okay? So I was explaining this to a guy one time, and he said, wait a minute. I met this girl, and she's like smoking hot. She's like at least a 9, and she's chill. She's totally cool. She's like not even a 3 crazy. I said, you're telling me you've met a girl, she's a 9 hot, and she's like a 2 or a 3 crazy. He said, yeah, man, I like her a lot. I said, you should be careful. That's a dude. You're talking to a tranny.
Which I'm just saying, shaving your face is the first step to that vibe. I'm just throwing that out there. We
I just want to ask, is one of the top benefits of young men attending church and participating in a Christian community, is one of the benefits Christian marriage and having a wife?
I mean, okay, well, it's if you're looking for very specific qualities in that wife, then yeah, that'd be a good place to start.
there you are.
But that also applies more or less across the board, no matter what established religion you go to, with the possible exception of Wicca, where it's kind of reversed and mostly people drive Subarus and Ford Festivas.
Uh-oh, I think he froze again. He was back for a minute.
Yeah. Well, I'll be back in a bit. I got to take
from what I've seen, that is one of the complaints So from what I understand overall, the Orthodox Church is having leaps and bounds growing. And then, did you reset their vibe?
No, it just came back.
Okay.
They've been growing by leaps and bounds, and then the Orthodox Church specifically, but it's almost entirely men. It's like 80-20 men. So the guys are going, but the girls haven't come yet. And the downside to that is these guys are really going to have to learn to be something else, because in my experience, if I go lock up the bulls, which I do, the cows leave. The first day, even like the first hour, the cows like, we're fucking out of here. If I reverse that situation and lock the cows up, which I do, because when they calve, I don't want the bulls at them, and I don't want the calves to be like I lost an alpaca buddy during a show this year. To people like to let out these dogs that are completely unfed, and then they'll end up packing up and going out and killing. And this is actually a fairly agricultural area, and my alpaca and a bunch of calves got killed this year. So we usually lock our little ones like that up. That's why we don't lose little ones. But the bulls, they don't leave the yard. They don't leave sight of them cows. And the cows, as soon as you lock the bulls up, the cows are out. They're like, we're out of here. I mean, don't get me wrong. When they go through their time of needing a bull, they're as bad as the bulls times 10. They're running around, riding each other and just being ridiculous. Eventually you have to separate, because I'll take at about 8 months, when heat starts hitting the heifers, you got to take and separate them from the bulls so the bulls don't hurt them, because you don't want them to get pregnant till they're about 2. And for the first while, you keep them with their mom till they're about a year and a half. But then at some point, the mom will try riding them, because they get all worked up because she wants some. And so then you got to eventually just kick the cows out and just keep the heifers. And even that don't always work out so well. Anyways, what I'm going to challenge you on there, Vibe, I agree about the benefits of all the things that you're stating. Where I'm going to disagree is that comes from the church or Christianity at all. That was something that at least white culture, what we would consider Western white culture, basically, was something that was that was a heathen thing entirely to begin with. And you can look at this. This isn't even just from like spouting that. Like if you read things like Germania, where Caesar talks about it and Tacitus talks about it, that the Germanic people, which wasn't Germany, it was Germania. So it was this vast area. He said that these people don't intermix with other people. They're strictly monogamous. They're very community driven. Their version of slavery is basically being a landlord, and you don't have your own land, and you have to pay rent to me a portion of your crops or takings or whatever, or whatever you've made. You have to pay a portion to me, and they're looked down on and shamed heavily until they pay off whatever debt that needs to be paid to make them a free man. And they'll just be, and they're real bad. They're real good about it, in my opinion. But these features were all already in that culture and written about historically in basically white people culture, and that Christianity had to morph itself into that, and that there's numerous even rituals that you can take that are actually descended from Odinism and heathenry. And you see like a lot of the ortho bros try to make these claims like they own marriage, but rings were not part of Christianity. That wasn't a thing of theirs. It's fairly well known even to most people that rings were a huge thing amongst heathens and Odinists and all of them. That was one of their symbols for almost everything. And the getting on one knee to propose, that's because you were taking an arrow to the knee by taking a wife. You no longer were a free man that could just run around doing whatever the fuck he wants with no responsibility. Now you're tied to, you have responsibility. You can't just act a damn fool anymore. And so you took an arrow to the knee, because now when your friends want to go out and get stupid, you're like, nah, knees bothering me, I can't go. Yeah, and so taking an arrow to the knee. The tying the knot is an actual portion of a ritual where you have two ropes and you go like this. And as you pull your hands through, it ties into this infinity knot where the two basically become one in like this infinity. It's an actual ritual. None of this derived from the church in any way, shape, or form, including the monogamy. Like I said, in my opinion, this was part of Christianity. Was it's Constantine that basically canonized and put that all together. He put together a group that made it happen. They were trying to move into the white areas, and the white people weren't having it. We have like the Battle of Teutoburg Forest, where Rome tried to go in and take Germania by force, and like 6 out of like 80 tribes said no, and 3 Roman legions didn't come home, including their cooks and helpers and everything. They got slaughtered to a man. So they had to make this religion that was more morphed around it, like Alexander the Great. When you would conquer an area, you would leave the same holidays, the same rituals. Now you have to say this name instead of that name, but you get to keep the basic mechanics of life. And most of your lower class, they don't give a shit what your name is. If I got to pay 10% taxes, I don't care if your name's Dave or Tom, whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, I have an answer for that, but I'm going to make a quick comment that's completely unrelated. So it's been a long time since I've seen the crazy Matrix, but I almost have it memorized in my head because it was hilarious when I first saw it. But now watching it again, do you guys know Unreasonable Guy, Grid 1 Motorsport? Doesn't that look like a young version of him? Did he make that? Is that him?
He would
Go watch it.
If that was him. He would so claim that if that was him. That's hilarious.
Let's claim that for him.
I was looking at it and I'm like, his mouth and even the accent, and he looks a little younger there. I was like, is this Grid?
No.
I don't know. I tried to do a quick search and I just typed Grid 1 Motorsport Crazy Matrix. I didn't see anything, but
no. What I think it is you understand what an archetype is?
Yeah.
And so like even like with a liberal woman, you walk up to with a chick and she's got 3 different bright colors of hair and has 6 piercings in her face. You're fairly sure who it is. And if she told you her ideology without you seeing her, that's who you would picture. And so when the chicks all kind of look the same that are like that, it's not shocking. And this guy was obviously a businessman, fairly well-spoken, funny, more old-fashioned in his belief systems, which I'm not calling bad. Like I said, as a heathen, I think that's derivative of us. And like myself, I live a very heathen lifestyle. I live off-grid, as we were told to own my land, own all my stuff. I'm not Odin and Odin's words. It's better to have your own land, even if you just have a shack and 2 goats, than be a slave to somebody else.
Yeah, and so to respond to like the like marriage and what marriage is today, even in a Christian marriage, is that all Christianity? When Marcus asked me, what do I think that Christianity helped America do? I do think that was Christianity. I don't think it was Odinism, right? We didn't have many people that even knew what that was. So, but it wasn't only Christianity. And there's often arguments about this where we actually say, is religion good for society? We don't say Christianity. We don't say Judaism. We don't say Muslim, right? We say, is like some form of religion good for society, right? And so I won't claim that Christians are the only ones responsible for that. I will claim that religion is. Now, what is percentage per religion that actually was part of that? Obviously, Judeo-Christian was probably the highest in America. And I totally concede that tons of things were stolen from the pagan or other religions prior to Christianity, but none of those rituals are in the Bible. So there is not anything in the Bible that says that we put up a Christmas tree or Santa Claus exists or we have to get on one knee. But these things have been stolen from past cultures or traditions that they've had, even when they did convert to Christianity. I think the
which is smart.
Jehovah-
Like I said, that's an Alexander the Great technique. I mean,
yeah, it's a combination of society and say and with Christians we do have to look at whether it's right or wrong, right? So what is it? Not the Mormons, but I don't know why it's slipping me. The other radicalization of Christianity.
Seventh-day Adventists.
there's like
the Jehovah's
86. There's like
Witnesses.
86 of them that are active. Do you mean the Jehovah's Witnesses?
Yeah, the
That's
Jehovah's
the
Witnesses. I
big
don't know
one
why.
in America.
Like they believe that celebrating Christmas and having a Christmas tree is paganistic and going against God, right? And I'd actually say they have a point. If that Christian actually knew that Christmas tree was paganistic, and if he was worshiping it in a paganistic way, they would be guilty of exactly what the Jehovah's Witnesses say. However, I think in today's society, I think if my God, and I know we all have our versions of God, my God in the Abrahamic religions would say he's celebrating my son's birth, or my reincarnation as a man, and he's celebrating Christianity and giving, and so therefore he is not guilty of being a paganist. Only if I'm getting that tree under that intention with that guise am I worshiping a false idol, right? So we have adopted things, and there's lots of things that society has brought into Christianity and probably even Judaism, but we can say there's some of these that are a net benefit. But ultimately, I think that, so if some of your religions has slipped into ours, I can definitely say it's not written. That's what has to. It's not in our Bible. We didn't put that in ours.
I'm definitely not disagreeing.
But
It's not in your Bible, but it's in all of your customs. And
so you have to recognize, though.
And
not
I'm
all
saying
Christians will do a
that
Christmas tree.
lifestyle was also our lifestyle. That the Greeks, where your thing descends from, they weren't really known for that kind of lifestyle. All the Germanians were.
So what from, because I've done no study of your religion, right? What would, and let's just take one piece of it. You're acknowledging that you obviously had monogamy between two partners. How is that structure set up in your teachings of what the roles were for men and women? And does it look identical? Does it change? Were they more equal? Were they more disparate between their roles? Because I don't know, right? I know what our role.
No, I understand. And it 100%. And it's especially, I'm not one of the New Age pagans. That is the other thing I would challenge. That movement started in the late 1800s, and it's if you look at it, it's from the Jewish feminist liberation movement. And that's where all this derives from. And then it moves on to Madame Blavatsky. And then that puts into the Theosophical Society. And then Alice Bailey takes that and moves it to the UN. And they become the religious wing of the UN. And that becomes this worldwide propaganda. And actually, Rachel Wilson agrees with that. So, that one except for that, the very beginning, she starts with Alice Bailey and blah, blah. Anyways, the men go out, and they're either going out and farming or going out exploring, going out trading. It certainly wasn't what's up. It certainly wasn't the going out to war the way they always try and portray it. Although definitely the Viking era was war. But if you look at that, Charlemagne, previous to the Viking era, like at 794, the Viking era starts at 800. He slaughtered the entire Danesguild and killed all the people, took back the land, took the land over. Like, you don't think you started it? Anyways, so they're like, geez, in 800, they just went crazy. Before that, we killed a bunch of their people and smashed a bunch of their sacred sites and things. But they went crazy after that. I don't know. So that's the way it's recorded. That's the way it's presented. You have to actually look Oh, not a problem. Yeah, we only expect you till around 8. After that, it was a kind of a crapshoot. But anyways, so the woman would stay home with the kids as expected. The one of the things that was inherent in our thing was that women did have rights, but it was under conditions. Like if you didn't act like a proper husband, she could divorce you, and then take a bunch of your shit. But you had to get proven to not be a proper man. And even cross-dressing was one of the reasons for that. Like if she caught you acting womanly like that, nah, you're done. You're now shamed by the village. She gets your stuff. You're a dumbass. Things like that. So the man would have still been the head of the household. Still would have the women. If you had a guest, you would have been served. Like if you were to come to my home, even if I had servants, you would have been served by my wife because you're my guest. And so she would have served you, and not a servant. Servants do other things, and which is just paid employees. But that kind of thing is taken care of by my wife because you are my guest. So that type of relationship, again, was already ingrained into this whole culture. And I would also add in the founding fathers. Most people will agree that there was a fairly heavy portion of what they would call deists, where they're not claiming Christianity, they're not claiming Odin and things like that. They're like, there is some higher power. We're not sure what it is exactly. We're not saying there isn't one. We just don't know what it is exactly. So there was a fairly heavy portion, and they and most people agree that was from the Enlightened times, which are derivative of that philosopher society. The Library of Alexandria, which the Christians burned down. Like but this whole thing again was already set up in white culture. So did Christianity bring that? Fucking killing me over here.
Hard to keep a straight face with such chat action.
I know Vibe has to clear out of here in a couple of minutes. If you want, man, please go ahead and respond to
respond and then say
any or all
of
of
like
that,
anything.
and then let everybody know where you might show up next. If you got any particular channels or any places you want to point the folks out in the audience. And thank you for hanging out.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm totally willing to do it again, and I have gone a whole 7 hours on some of these debates and channels, so I don't mind actually doing super long. But yeah, with 3 kids and the family, I usually don't stream on Tuesdays. This is usually kind of more of a day to spend with them. So I was just super excited because I like Balderson, and I think you guys are great too, because it seems like in some of these debates, you're just trying to get a point across and you get interrupted 10 times, and it takes you 20 minutes to get a 5-second point across. So I do like the format where we could actually talk it through instead of try to one-up each other to get the point. I'd love to take this farther. Also, this discussion, like I said, I conceded that there are definitely pagan things that have moved into our society as Christians, but it still isn't in the Christian Bible. I do have, like I said, I am new at this. I've had a YouTube channel for, I think, 15 years I never used. So I just actually branded it and changed the URLs. I do have a website as well that actually has my Discord and has my Twitter handle. I think I got 6 Twitter followers because I just set that up 5 days ago. So everybody watching, if you want to hit those up and give me some likes on there, and definitely going to start doing the dual streaming on these things too, and actually doing some original content based on some of the things that we're talking about. I've already got the scripts for those written out, just haven't recorded them yet. So the more followers I can get, the more encouraged I get to get that information out to you. First one's going to be sex and gender, and a total new look. I know it's an old topic, but I have a whole new look on that. and actually a prescription on how we actually fix it. Most people just say it doesn't exist or it does. Nobody has a prescription, and I'm willing to give that. So if you guys don't mind me, I will definitely post that in the chat here. And yeah, thanks for the time. You guys are really fun. And I do have a few more minutes. If you guys have anything you want to say to me or comments.
Well, let's give you the floor. If you got questions for us, we don't have to answer the questions right away, but we can set up for future discussions. I'm sure you got a lot of things floating around in your head.
Brother. We love the well thought out people. I also don't. It's, you know what? There's two things. You can't get a very succinct point across, you know, and a very well thought out point at the same time. A lot of times, sometimes you can, but sometimes it takes some words and you need some space. And like you said, that's all about one-upmanship. And Andrew, and I'm sure would admit this, there's a lot of times he completely loses a point, but he's able to outwill people and basically look like he won in a thing. Yeah. So it's all about winning in that. And I would rather this is why we're the deliberating dog face dudes, because we would rather even though we would like debates, we would like them to be well spoken, you know, at least well thought out, get your whole point across. Then I can't even respond to you if I only let you get 4 words out, and then I assume what you're going to say. And there's a whole lot of that going on, or they just don't even care. Like you were on when I was on Sarah Tomato's channel the other day. And that one guy jumped in after I had talked about pot, instead of giving money for Section 8 and things like that, letting the homeless start homesteading some of this government-owned land. And this guy jumps in and just goes off into left field. He's talking about the fraction. He's explaining to me the fractional reserve system and shit. Like, I remember Ross Perot, bro. Like, you know, I'm also old. Like, fucking, I know I don't look like it, but eight grandkids could get, you know, fucking. You're not the oldest dude in the room. I remember.
You don't look a day past 65, my friend.
I know. And you don't walk a day past 89.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
But it's been a pleasure having you on, and we would love to have you again whenever you want to feel free about it. And we did pick Tuesdays because nobody else was really doing it Tuesdays, and we didn't want to compete, you know. So,
yeah, sometimes, I mean, when you jump into this this world, like the first one I jumped on, I thought I did awesome, and then I went back and watched it, and I'm like, oh my god, I have so far to go. But yeah, if you actually pay attention to what people are saying, sometimes I even noticed I missed what they said because I just got so heated up in the moment. You definitely have to criticize yourself, and I also made a choice that in the first debate I did, I was swearing back at everybody else because everybody else was swearing. And after watching that, I actually made a decision that, I mean, in my real life persona, I actually don't swear. So I don't know why I jumped on that panel and started swearing like everybody else. So I was like, okay, I need to make sure that I actually portray who I am, not match who I'm talking against, right? But it's fun. Yeah, let's do it again. And I look forward to meeting up with you guys in other spaces and here again. And thank you, by the way, so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming. Come again anytime. Where I said,
yeah, Marcus, I hope I wasn't that naive young kid that you didn't want to see.
No, I appreciate that. And I was just gonna shut up and not talk over you.
Yeah,
I get a little anxious sometimes.
You know, like Melanie's not even that young, but that generation of kids, and we were going to get into a generational talk, but that generation of kids, it's when you apparently they didn't read the Emperor's New Clothes, and they want us to participate in it and it completely, which apparently to me set off the whole Promethean fire battle. That's, you know, a myth, you know, time began myth where Prometheus gave higher thought to man, and that a bunch of men went, no, this is only for the gods. You can't have free will and higher thought and things like that. Give it
Well,
back.
I don't know if you saw Grid One's Friday debate where he does the 1 minute openings and the 5 minute debate. Melanie and I were on there, and Melanie just started diving into me right away. So they set the first debate up to us, and then as soon as they clicked the buttons, Melanie dropped. So I took that as a win. Melanie's always like, I'll debate you and kill you every day. And so I messaged him and said, let's do it. Very slow to response. Says that the moderators that are on these channels are unfair. So I guess he's looking for a channel where he feels that he can have a fair shake. I would definitely love to destroy Melody. But Emmett took on the next one, and I won that one as well. So
by unfair, what Melanie really means is he goes from channel to channel acting a fool until people can't handle him anymore, and then he gets kicked off the channel, and like he can't go on Sarah Tomato's channel even though she was like infinitely generous with the shenanigans.
I was on that panel when Melanie got kicked permanently. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't get pushy like that dude does, and that's what they always do. They can handle themselves for a little while and then they lose their shit, and they're very emotional people. It's a weird thing, and it's something that generation was almost, because of the gentle parenting and because of the programming where everybody's special, blah blah blah, that generation was almost pushed to this. Like they have zero emotional accountability. All your feelings were valid. Well, nobody said they weren't valid in the first place. My dad just said if I was bawling, he would say, "You want me to give you something to bawl about?" And I'd say, "No, I don't want to do a cartwheel in midair. No, thanks."
Yeah,
I think way better.
It's also why the generational speak discussion would be a really good one too, just to see how did we get here, and how did my generation end up making such a spoiled generation? Like we had it hard, not as hard as some generations, but we were lucky kids. We didn't wear helmets. There was no seatbelts. Our parents were smoking and drinking in the car. We survived. So
every birthday picture has like 6 relatives like this, and
And the neighbors look at me horribly because I ride my bike with my kids, and none of us are wearing helmets. And they're like, I can see them hiding by the other parents, and they're like, "You're such a bad parent," whatever.
I think the thing that happened to a lot of people in Gen X and a lot of older millennials and a whole bunch of boomers too is that people got to be a certain age and had kids, whatever, did everything that they were told they were supposed to do, and didn't wind up with the shit that they were promised. And so instead of like hunkering down and trying to make something different or taking a risk and trying something new, they went and blamed their parents for the way that they turned out, and then promised their kids that they would never wind up the way that their parents did them. And it's just this ridiculous cycle of suck that has kind of infected the society as a whole. And I think it's because it was kind of a hyper overreaction to the risk taking way that we all grew up. There was an overcorrection to that. Then we got introduced to the participation trophy generation, and from there it just kind of societally spiraled downward to now there's like 15 different qualifiers for what you are before you even say your name, and people have to treat all of your symptoms before they can even talk to you. And it's so far afield from what natural is, or from what God intended, or for any of that stuff. It's just it's a complete inversion of humanity and reality.
All right, well, Agreed. And thank you guys. I am out. I posted my information in the channel, so
Fantastic.
we'll talk soon.
Thank you again.
Take it easy,
Cheers,
brother.
All right. Thanks, guys.
That was fun. That was
Jay
fun.
Dyer Wolves definitely blames his parents.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah, we know. We know. He's like, that's why he had to go Orthodox, Jay. He's like, without the Orthodox Church, I would steal other people's work and take it as my own and then present it and without giving them any due. And I would take their old ladies and have sex with them and things like that. And I need somebody to tell me how to be a good boy because I don't know how to not do it. And I get that that's part of the movement toward where I would call the entire religious thing a movement toward the right-hand path, where too many people tried to jump on the left-hand path where you choose your own adventure. And fucking the thing is you have to have your own accountability in order to do that. And people gave up. They're like, no, I don't like that part of it at all. And so it got real fucking messy because too many people because classically, if somebody goes left-hand path and also doesn't take their own responsibility, they get weeded out of society real quick. Today we're a very babysitter society where if you are just fucking yourself up all the time and making horrible choices, we're like, yeah, well, I made the good people give you a pillow. So, which it gives zero incentive to not be a fuck up.
I'm talking about helicopter parenting styles.
Well, on a societal level, though, just the kind of over parenting of grown adults.
Yeah, because we were latchkey kids and we didn't have parents. And then we're like, you fucked us up. Well, they didn't really teach us anything. That's like a Schrodinger's Generation X, right? Like our parents taught us all the wrong stuff, but they were never there. Like, which one is it, motherfucker? Like,
I mean, it is kind of both.
Yeah,
It really is, though.
My parents definitely drank, smoke, or my parents actually, my dad drank, my mom never drank that I remember. I've seen her drink like 2 wine coolers my whole life. My dad definitely fucking drank like a motherfucker. He was a drunk. But
Was your father working 60-hour work weeks? What was
for sure, like? For sure. But yeah, we were doing the riding in the back of the pickup, and fucking parents got a fucking road fucking drink, and all that kind of shit. That generation, and you never wore helmets, you never did anything, and we weren't pussies. Like, this is how broken old men like me and Steve can still hang amongst young kids when it comes time for work, because we're not pussies. Like, if we were amongst proper men that were that age, they would run circles around us. They'd be like, hey, old man, you need to take a break every 10 minutes or something. Like,
and we'd still just laugh at them and be like, no, we're good.
Exactly.
Let's finish the job and go home for the day.
Right.
That's when we.
No, you just keep busting your ass there,
like,
youngin. You do that.
That's when we make those jokes like, you go ahead and run down there and fuck one, young bull. I'm going to walk down there and fuck them all.
Right.
And we start making old man jokes like that. Older the bull, the stiffer the horn. Just completely lying about life. Like,
right. And then also at the same time going, hey, man, that's a neat new hammer you brought to work today. Has it been pitched yet? Hey, let me check it out.
Pitch the hammer. Are you playing
All
baseball
right.
on your
It's
break?
been pitched now. Why don't you go get that? We got to go to work. What the fuck are you doing standing there?
Oh, fuck.
Do you guys have other areas to study that you wanted to bring up?
You remember Freddie Badger when he was here? Weren't you here that time? I sent him for a fence stretcher.
Yep.
And he stopped dead and just looked at me evil, and he's like, I know this trick. And it took me like 5 minutes and like 6 other guys to convince him that No, there's actually such a thing as a fence stretcher.
Mhm.
Like it's what he's saying. He's like, we couldn't convince him that there really was a fence stretcher. It was hilarious. That kid's ahead of most by far.
You should have sent him for a wireless extension cord.
Yeah.
Did you go snipe hunting on the weekends?
You are just dying to sit in front of the camera, aren't you, Cutis? She wants all the attention to be on her. And I swear, and you guys don't know how often this dance happens. Like, look at this. Now she's whapping her tail and everything. And she's like, no, I want focus on me. And so she's got to put herself in front of the focal point there and be a little shit.
The furries are always finding a way to get in between you and the camera.
Yeah. It's like, put your attention on me.
Did you have thoughts about open panels and whether or not the panelists' best practices should be to show your face, have a camera on your face when you're talking?
I don't like the panels where like there's like one or two people that have their face and everybody else has like some icon. I don't like that at all. I understand that they're historically, like I let Crow 777 do it. Who I've been on his show like 15 times or some shit. You know, and he's got a giant show. I let him do it, but other than that, people, this is a show on YouTube and whatnot. People want to see it. People want to interact. They want to see what their friends are saying, things like that. And so I prefer. And then on top of that, when you're talking to somebody, you need to. It's almost like cheating at poker. You know, like you're playing online and they're having to be in person and you're able to read them, but they can't read you or anything. That's just pretty nonsense in my opinion. And it's like, who doesn't have a camera on their phone at the very least? Who doesn't? I mean, come on. The oldest smartphone has got a pretty good camera on it at this point. I think that's nonsense. And I don't like the open panel thing because I don't like people like Melanie, I just can't. That dude's so dishonest and so trying to one up all the time. And it, like I said, the dude's an emperor wears the emperor's new clothes type person where they live in an unreality and don't have any problem lying and trying to force you to live in that lie. Why would I ever want to mince words with somebody that dishonest in character out the gate?
All while hiding behind Fox Persona VTuber talking animated image where, you know, the mouth moves as the vocalization is being made, but we're not seeing the actual face. I think the practical reason to be on a video call and to show your face is so you can see who's talking. When they're leaning to the microphone, they're talking. When they're leaning back, they're not talking. And then that reduces the talking over each other. And Vibe was brave to show face and talk on microphone and show up to open panels. I thought, you know what, that guy, he gets it.
Yeah.
No,
and you can tell when he's trying to, when he's having it out with somebody, he tries to put a well thought out thing, like whatever he's saying, he tries to put a lot of thought into it, and he needs space to do so. And I was like, as soon as he was on, and I saw that a couple times, I was like, he's perfect to come on and have a chat with. We'd already kind of talked about generational stuff a little bit. He's Gen X. We're both Gen X. He said he's over 50. I'm almost 50. It's kind of we have a lot of the same background and life experiences. And I think that's part of why so many of us are ending up falling conservative. Because at the end of the day, we were accountable for ourselves, and we don't understand not that. But on the same token, we raised, like Steve was saying, the ones who got spanked, they're like, no, I didn't like the spanking, so I'm not going to do that to my kid, which really is a mental slip. Like, apparently you didn't ever get the action reaction, and that's something wrong inside your head. You need to figure that out. That I'm old enough to take accountability, and this was a long time ago, where you know what helped me was the being in the hole for 2 years. I went crazy again and again, but you dig through your whole life and take it apart piece by piece because you got nothing else to do but stare at a wall or read the 10 books, 20 books that are available that you can fish to because you know this guy or whatever. You know, and you got, you know, like a week until you can exchange your books out. That's how I end up reading some of the horrible books, like the Suki Stackhouse books. Like some asshole like 3 cells down had those. You're like, ugh! But you got nothing else to read, so you're tired of digging through your own life and finding out what a shitheel you are. But I deserved, you know, my dad again was a drunk. I deserved a lot of the spankings and things like that. And if I, and the reason I don't whine around is because if I didn't go through the things I did in life, I wouldn't be able to live the way I do right now. That's a fact.
Well, here's the thing, dude. You didn't get your ass beat because you were outside playing all day and getting hurt and learning shit and learning how to interact socially. You got your ass beat when you fucked up at home or you fucked up somebody else's property. That's when you got your ass beat. And it wasn't like, for the most part. Sometimes you got your ass beat just because you woke up a little late or something like that. You know, maybe dad was in a bad mood that night. Maybe mom was in a bad mood that day. Whatever. You know, but for the most part, it wasn't like Calvinist. I'm beating the shit out of you because you're a creature of sin and you're drawing breath, so I have to beat the sin out of you. Beatings. For the most part, it was, you know, you actually had to, you kind of had to earn it, and boy, did we fucking earn it. You know,
it was well understood what you did, what was wrong about it, how you're never going to do it again, but also
that's the thing. And got caught.
Spirit of the age fucking hit it on the head right now, because we all deserved way more ass whoopings than we ever caught. Hands fucking down. And look, even if you don't believe in corporal punishment or whatever the fuck that is, dude, we I promise you, between at least me and Ben, you know, we definitely got away with not getting our ass whooped hundreds of times. When much less.
With this,
yeah, and definitely, you know, got swatted for way less, which in hindsight probably balances it all out a little bit.
Yeah, even when you got one you didn't deserve, it was like, yeah, I've been getting away with this shit for a long time. It's, you know, kind of deserve it. Kind of. Marcus, he was a good Christian boy.
I did get spanked on the bottom with a plastic spoon a number of times, and I remember everything I did to deserve it.
Yeah, you had a good Christian dad. He wasn't as mean as ours.
That's true.
So some of those I'm not 100%. Like Steve said, most of them, yeah, definitely. Some of them, dad probably woke up on the wrong side of the bed or didn't ever go to bed, or I don't know. But yeah, most of them, I definitely got to take accountability, and I still do, even though the shit that they actually put me in prison for was horse shit. It's not like I didn't sell some weed. You know, that ain't a lie. Like, so I didn't ever cry around about it. I was like, yep. And my mom laughs. She's like, you've always been that way. Like, as long as it's not unjust what you're doing to me, I'm pretty okay with it. Like, yeah, I did that shit. Like, I don't care. I also didn't feel the need to fight like around the corner or anything. If I need to fight with you, I give a fuck where we're standing in the middle of the classroom. Let's go. Let's do this. I don't care about getting caught. Whatever, dude.
Well, okay. I mean, we again, being like outside kids, you learned about like risk assessment and risk versus reward and stuff like that in a very tangible way. Because sometimes it meant like your elbows or your knees or your face on the fucking gravel and getting fucking slid across it, either by another human being or your bike or your skateboard or fucking turbo, what the fuck ever, you know.
Mhm. And you didn't
so-
die. You didn't die.
You didn't die.
You
Maybe
didn't
you got
die.
a broken arm. Maybe you got a broken collarbone.
Hurt a little bit, but you know, you
But
remember
then you
it.
got a kick-ass cast and
You're,
everybody signed
you're
it.
still alive. You're still talking to us now.
Yeah.
He brought up the anxiety thing on the phone. Like, you know, if the phone rings and the young person has to answer it, they sweat, and they just lose their bowels, and then they have to go shower and clean up and change a diaper. It's like the phone rang, and it's someone you know who's calling to talk to you.
Yeah, you're going to be forced to have a interaction that's human to human that doesn't give you time to answer at your leisure. Look something up on Google, hang out, smoke a joint. You actually have to react in real time.
That's good. You shouldn't have been allowed to be a poser. Posers suck. Don't be a poser.
I was this close to asking him about his favorite Christian band, but I figured I'll save that for.
Oh, it was going to be
next
Stryper.
time.
It was going to be Stryper.
You know, I
My daughter.
with the age, yeah, most likely.
Yeah, dude,
My-
what, 53, something like that? Yeah, it wasn't going to be DC Talk.
My daughter, I
really liked what was it, Mark David Chapman. Really like that guy.
Michael
he can,
W.
he can
Smith?
tinkle those ivories. Michael W. Smith too.
I was going to ask him Michael W. Smith or Stephen Curtis Chapman, Amy Grant.
Stephen
or
Curtis.
Rebecca St.
Jesus,
James.
dude, I'm going to get kicked out of Park Place Church of God for that one. I am. Yeah, dude. I told you, right? The Sandy Patty was a family friend.
Yes. Yeah,
Right. Yeah. And the Gaithers.
and the Gaithers. Yeah.
It's my hometown. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
The importance of Christian music is very important, and we can get into that.
shouldn't be
now or
overlooked.
later.
It shouldn't be overlooked, man.
Right.
I'll tell you what. There's a lot to be said for like the influence that gospel music has had on all other music going forward. There really is. And
I absolutely agree with this point.
Like the way that like 4-part to 6-part harmonies showed up all over the place, everywhere from pews to Broadway to fucking Nashville and
Are you
Los
talking about
Angeles and shit like that.
Godspell?
No. Just, I mean, I'm going back to the 1900s,
Okay.
late 1800s, stuff like that.
Okay.
And to this day, like, soul music, R&B, all that kind of like all of that came out of the church to begin with. All of that came out of gospel. Like it's had a massive influence.
So you're talking like organs in churches and people singing along?
Or, just standard a cappella raised voices, in harmony. Like that's pervasive throughout just about every genre of music.
Sure.
Up until like mumble rap.
Yeah, Vibe did mention going to a rock and roll church in the Philippines. I had some more questions about that.
Right.
He teased us just enough with some personal details that we wanted to ask so much more and dive into everything. But that rock and
Hello,
roll church,
everyone. I'm Pastor Paul, and we're gonna sing a song.
Pastor Paul, are you bigger than Jesus right now?
I am the Eggman
Huh?
and the Walrus. Coco Kachu. Yeah, it was Atmosphere in Guns and Cigarettes said, I'm bigger than Jesus, bigger than Elvis. What was it?
That kid from Minneapolis?
Yeah. He said he was bigger than breast implants.
Well, he wasn't big enough he was small enough to play in my bar anyways.
Yeah, no, dude. Hey, look, man, for a long time, that whole like Rhymesayers crew, they were fan-fucking-tastic. Then they got a little bit too much money. They started making a little bit too much off of their artists. And now all of their artists aren't on Rhymesayers anymore. and Atmosphere is doing features on other people's albums once every like 3 years.
Bubba, you ornery little cuss.
So
He's at that teenage shithead stage.
mhm. Greed doesn't pay. That's what I'm saying. Even
Yeah.
for Atmosphere.
And I understand what you're saying, Radio Sack. I ran away when my mom moved to Denver and I was in Denver for a couple of years. And it's because I have Wilson's disease, any kind of upper gives me grand mal seizures, but that didn't happen until I was a little bit older. When I was that young, I had asthma. I had childhood asthma. It's a good thing the two didn't happen at the same time. And basically they were giving me white crosses because they just give you a hard upper. Like that's the answer for everything. I think with the pharmaceutical industry, they're like, "Hey, is your kid to act not able to pay attention? Give him a hard upper. Your kid can't breathe. Give him a hard upper." Like when I was in the army, those pens that they carry around like this
What'd you call them?
to be for
Albuterol and shit like that. Just straight steroid.
Did you say white crosses?
Yeah, white cross.
Oh yeah, that's speed, buddy.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah,
they're
I was given
freaking-
like 80 of those a week when I was like 9.
White Cross is the name of a Christian band. Are you saying my Christian band?
No. He's talking
Uncassette?
about he's talking about pharmaceuticals.
I'm asking if the band White Cross was named after a pharmaceutical, and I just didn't know it.
Oh, that would be tragic, wouldn't it?
Chat, look up White Cross. Let's get some research notes on the band White Cross.
Right. And
Anyway,
the atmosphere song that makes you cry is the one about his dad, right? That's the one that makes you cry. It's the one that makes everybody cry. It's okay.
Anyways, Marcus is trying to derail all fucking night. And so, yes, I understand. When I lived in Denver, I ran away. You know, I got all hooked on all kinds of drugs, and they already rehabbed me on uppers. So I took more uppers. Duh. And you've already got me strung out on them and ran away. And then I got sent to the farm, and dad implemented those often well-deserved whoopings and straightened that right back the fuck out.
So those were the uppers that were bringing you downers.
No, they didn't bring me no downers. They were just giving me, I swear, like I said, it seems like the pharmaceutical industry, anything that's wrong with kids, they're like, give them an upper.
Okay. Like
Well, man,
ADHD
I'm
medications.
sorry to hear about your dad passing. I figured it would be that one. It's always that one. I'd give it about a year or two before you listen to it, and then it's still gonna make you weep like a fucking little girl with a skin knee. It is. But yeah.
Yeah, grief on your own schedule. No one can speed that up or slow that down for you. It's your own pace day to day. And maybe that would be another question I'd ask Vibe specifically about Christian funerals. No, everyone seems to use the church for weddings and funerals, and it gets real weird when you invite everybody to a Christian funeral and they give an altar call. It's like, how do you feel about that?
Funeral
See,
music?
Beth Martin's in there. Hi, Beth.
Hey, Beth.
Mm-hmm.
We love you. And yeah, dude, sorry about your dad. That's horrible. My dad just had open heart surgery, and we were afraid, they actually had to take his heart out of his chest. We're like, fuck me. But my dad lost like 100 and some pounds in a couple weeks. And yeah, he thought I was going to lose him. So I didn't, I understand what I didn't lose him. So I can't fully feel it in any way, shape or form. I'm not going to pretend to, but definitely I felt the fear leading up to it.
Mine will be gone 10 years in September.
Lifta.
Yeah.
My parents, like myself, procreated young. So my mom had me at 17. My daughter was born like a month after I turned 17. Her son was born when she was 18. Like it's all, and so now I've got grandkids, a whole bunch of them, and should be able to, I've got kids going into high school. I should certainly be seeing great grandkids at some point in the near future also, like, which is some shit, right?
Great grandkids.
Dude, right? Can you imagine?
How much do they get spoiled? Yeah, how much do they get spoiled?
If Kai follows the trend,
I mean, do you have a bounty on
within
that?
5 years, and it's not like I'm going to change that much in the next 5 years.
First
I'll be a great
grandkid,
grandparent.
the first grandkid to give you a great grandkid, is there a reward in it?
Well, he is the firstborn of the firstborn of the firstborn, so that's
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm asking.
yeah. The staff of power passes on.
You're gonna go beat somebody up and take their $18 watch and be like, I smuggled this watch in my ass.
Dude, I am a Desert Storm vet. Like I was over there with them dirty Arabs, and they came in with a camel, and they took out everybody. They had fucking rocket launchers. I don't even understand why they didn't have guns. It was all rocket launchers.
Great grandfather hid this uncomfortable hunk of metal in his ass. And it really is. It's like an $18 Casio or something.
The family.
I got this at Kmart back when Kmart was still a thing on Blue Light Special.
You could fuck with an entire the rest of your lineage by coming up with random family heirlooms and making up some cockamamie story about it. It's just seeing, from the grave how long it lasted, how many generations they just kept spinning this yarn.
Dude, Christy's family has one. Her dad. Somebody asked her dad when they were little kids how come the Able Skeevers are round? Because if you've never had an Able Skeever, it's like a round pancake ball, and it's something that the Danish people make. And so they were asking their dad where that came from, and he's like, "Well, when they would be out at battle, they would get hit in the helmet." And then so they would just pour the batter into their helmets, and that way, and cook it like that. And that's when it was round like that, from the cannonballs and the musket balls and things bouncing off of their helmets. And I was like, what? Oh, fuck. And then they asked her dad, this last year, they asked their dad where he came up with that. He didn't even remember saying. He's like, "Oh shit!" And he was laughing his ass off at his own yarn. It was great. Which I know my kids have done that to me too. Because there's times as a parent you just pull in your kid's leg and you don't remember it, and then years later they bring it up to you. You're like, "Oh, that's hilarious."
Dude, that's fantastic. That is fantastic.
The fruit of the heirloom. Do you have a special pair of undergarments that you might pass on to grandsons?
Yeah, he does, man. He's got all those fucking sheath underwears or whatever, the fucking dick pouch underwear.
Yeah,
that should be a family heirloom.
And they're made out of Michael Modal.
If it was good enough for great grandpappy Ben, it's good enough for fucking Junior.
Listen, I had 7 of you guys. It's none of this bullshit of 1.5 or less than 1. It's 7. Sure. You know why? It's the nut pouch. It keeps them properly down and away from the sweaty legs. They aren't getting squished together and sticking to the side of your legs. It keeps them nicely, and they're cradled like an angel's wings wrapping around your scrotum, and you're just like, they're proper temperature, they're gently held and preserved. This way I get proper great grandkids.
That's fair. I'm pretty sure that my only hope for grandkids is Connor, and I'm pretty sure that that's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, no.
So you're not trying to be too over encouraging. You just know things are going to work out.
Oh no! I already told him I want him to make me a grandfather by the time he's like 26, 27, the latest. Yeah. You want to be spry enough to enjoy them.
Oh, dude, it's so nice. I mean, like I get to spend real quality time. I have a very strong relationship with my grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
Very strong relationship. Like where they asked to come out, my oldest grandson, when his parents asked him why, because he'd been saving all of his money. They're like, "Why are you saving all your money like that?" He's like, "To go visit Papa." And like I can go run around and play and check things out with them, and I'm old enough that I have the free time to do so and the patience to do so. And I give myself like a D plus as a parent. Like they all lived through the experience, but I'm not 100% sure I did a good job.
Well, that's a solid C minus. Don't sell
yourself. Yeah.
Short.
Like, I got the passing grade. They all lived, but it's not great. Like, but,
I mean, if you have 7 and they all live, that is a solid C. You only get dinged down a little bit from there.
Yeah. I'm an A+ grandparent though. Like I have a solid relationship with the grandkids, and I've had some of them stay with me for extended periods of time when my kids had troubles and whatnot, and it's been absolutely fucking wonderful. Don't get me wrong, it makes me more tired than I ever remember. Like at one point in time, I had a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old grandson, both here. Christy and I did, and they stayed here for 4 months. And I think it was about 10 months after is finally when we quit being tired from that 4 months. We're like, okay. I don't need to sleep all day.
That sounds about right.
So soon we'll have to introduce you as Benjamin Balderson, the greatest great grandparent.
Yes.
We'll get some more superlatives going.
I'll still be able to, if he kicks off in 5 years the same way we all did, then I should still be able to get around and fucking run up and down a mountain and have a good time, and that'd be awesome. Like, be able to play with my great grandkids and run around with them and shit. It'd be cool.
Do any of them play music? Could you have the Balderson family band?
No, that there is no musical talent in my family. We drums would be like the heathen thing. And it's funny because our buddy Bruce that lives on the mountain here, he was riding with us one day, and we were either listening to Danheim or Wardruna, which Danheim gave me personal permission to use their music, and YouTube still dinged me on that shit with copyrights. You were so naughty. You don't hiss at me. You're the one being naughty. Quit forcing your way in front of the camera. You are so naughty. Get moving. She's my personal cat. That's why I don't get real mad about it.
She's play favorites.
She's old too.
Yeah.
She was my kids' cat that I inherited. So, like this one here, I don't even like this one particularly, but this one's also the meanest killer cat that I've ever seen. Like, she kills rats, just like, bam! She don't play with it or nothing. It's dead. Like that, which is exactly what we want around the farm. So even though I don't get along with her, I tolerate her. And so then she takes advantage of things like this and acts like we're friends sometimes, and I don't even know why.
Kind of a respect.
Yeah. She's like, whatever.
Go take a lap, any word.
He is wearing a Broncos hat. You can't blame him.
Just go take a lap.
Like, those guys actually thought John Denver was country.
Are we defending Scott Stapp tonight, or are we just going to pass on that prompt?
Who?
The lead singer
of
that
Creed. Word's name?
Yeah.
Dude, you know this lead singer of Creed's name? That is the gayest thing I've ever heard you say, and we've had some weird fucking middle of the night conversations on there.
I know music trivia. I don't know how I know it. I don't know how I know some of the stuff I know. It's just in my head.
That's gayer than the Pootie Pie thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the internet has been increasingly gay for the last 50 years.
Right, that's the same band, right? I'm not messing that bit up.
Creed is the higher guy, isn't it?
Yeah, he's in a gondola. Everything's flooded. Yeah. Creed.
Did he play in one of the vampire movies too?
I think I was the dude from Bush.
I don't know the answer to that at all, and even
The
if
dude
I did,
from
I wouldn't
Bush?
say it.
Wasn't he in a werewolf movie?
Yeah, I don't know, man. He was in a handful of fucking
Marcus, you know these
obscure
gay things.
Are you
90s
thinking of the
movie.
Anne Rice novel? Is it Anne Rice Vampire Chronicles stuff? Or before that?
No, Anne Rice is the Interview with the Vampire one, right?
Yeah, there was Interview with the Vampire, and then there was Queen of the Damned with Aaliyah and the Rock concert.
You know the real big song from when that Aaliyah chick's in the bar and fucking makes all the other vampires go bleh.
Yeah.
Those guys listen. They're like, he's good friends with Karen B, and they listen to all of our shit. Not ours.
Yeah, I
but
showed you my Aaliyah shirt. I recognize culture. Oh, I forgot. I was gonna put a different T-shirt on, but I had. My
he was in
Christian
Constantine
Lives.
too, but I swear Gavin Rosdale was in like a bunch of TV and movies back in that particular era for a little
Gavin
bit.
Rosdale?
The dude from Bush.
The Bush guy. Okay.
Yeah, his band sucked, but if you didn't make him say much as an actor, and he was just there to get stabbed up or something like that, he was fantastic.
Flea from Chili Peppers has a bunch of fucking minor roles that are kind of hilarious too.
I may have told this story before, and if I have, I apologize. But I was down in Big
We're
Sur.
old. It's okay to recycle them.
If you're unfamiliar with Big Sur, California, it's a beautiful little area, like Central Coast, a little bit further south. Coastal redwood trees. Carmel by the Sea is right north, which is where Clint Eastwood was mayor for a bit. And it's just a beautiful little area. And it's also like spooked up to hell and gone. And the Esalen Institute is right there. And like Henry Miller's favorite bar is right there. There's a whole bunch of just, massive cultural overlap. And we're hanging out in front of the coffee shop right by the Fernwood Resort, right on the little main drag through Big Sur. And we're smoking a joint and we're just having our morning. It's early. Fucking, chilling. And there's this like bright pink and highlighter yellow neon form coming down the road. Me and my buddy Ben Kalajian are like, what the fuck? And then it gets a little bit closer and we're like, nah. And then it gets even closer. We're like, holy fuck, that's Flea. And
that's
Flea
hilarious.
From the Red Hot Chili Peppers apparently has a property in Big Sur where he lives most of the time. And so in these like 1970s hot pink jogging shorts and a highlighter yellow mesh jogging top, little tank top, Flea it might have been 8 o'clock in the morning, but I don't think so. Goes freaking jogging by. Hi fellas, morning. Jog. And it's Flea.
In neon pink.
Hot pink 1970s freaking, the fucking cocks a flopping nut hugger, running shorts. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And a freaking mesh neon highlighter yellow tank top. Like fishnet, but mesh, like nylon mesh.
And he wasn't shooting a music video at the time. He's just
No, he
choosing
was
to wear
just
this.
out for a morning jog.
Huh, fascinating.
Yeah, because when we tried to tell somebody about it in the coffee shop, they're like, "Oh yeah, no, that's when we found out. Yeah, he has a place down the road. He fucking goes jogging by almost every morning, 8 months out of the year, something like that. 7 months out of the year."
They had that. What's the name of their album? The Sex Magic something. Sugar Cookie.
Aren't all their albums just California?
Californication.
Like the lyrics of every song is just California, California.
Fornicating in California again. Yeah, it's pretty much all the Red Hot Chili Peppers songs are about.
Right.
Like and the people in California, like, it's in California, ah! And because all entertainment at one point basically derived from here, the rest of us have to put up with it. Like that's awesome.
Blood, sugar, sex, magic. I never said Flea was gay. I said that I bore witness to him jog past us in tiny little hot pink jogging shorts and a nylon mesh highlighter yellow tank top. I
did say Jay Dyer is gay, who also wears hot pink. I wasn't necessarily making the association to Flea. I was just taking an open opportunity to parallel hot pink and Jay Dyer, and that he's a flaming fag.
I didn't say Flea was gay. I maybe have referred to his outfit as gay, but I have no idea if he's gay. I bet he sucked a dick. I bet he did. I bet he did. I bet he sucked a dick or two. But I don't know if he's gay. Yeah, they're all LA musicians.
You said Clint Eastwood is mayor of that area?
Carmel, yes.
Carmel.
Yeah, Carmel by the sea. Yeah.
And he's whining around.
Yeah.
How did he how did he manage, what was his mayoral career like? Is that even the word mayoral?
I think he promised 300 days of sunshine a year and delivered. And I don't fucking know. I don't know. He was Clint Eastwood. He could kind of do whatever he wanted.
Well, all I'm saying is Odin said that he would kill all the ice giants and rid of the ice giants, and I don't see any ice giants.
I haven't seen a single solitary ice giant. Not once, not ever.
Yeah, the Bible's very faulty. I don't know why. They've got a whole bunch of stuff. Well, there's no ice giants. That's pretty easy evidence.
Now we're talking about nylon and pantyhose in chat.
We don't know nothing about that.
No. See, Anna Mears is good at this. She conflates things. She'll take like completely different concepts, blend them together, and then try and make you feel stupid.
Wait, are we saying all nylon is pantyhose, but not all pantyhose is nylon?
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Nylon is a material that many things are made out of. Nylons is a way to refer to pantyhose. So is stockings. Yeah, there's a number of other ways that you can refer to that. Right? But nylon, without the S on the end of it, nylon is a material by which many things are made. Rope, weird little fishnet t-shirts for joggers, and or the occasional, Pop Warner football player.
Well, I would say it's important to understand the distinction in fabric if you're raising daughters and what she can't go outside wearing. She can't leave the house wearing or not wearing.
Yeah. But I do agree with you,
sir. The stockings are not pantyhose. They do not have a panty, just legs.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But I have heard the hose referred to as stockings before. Yeah.
I suppose.
I'm just saying. But again, we've all agreed that the item is pantyhose.
The specificity.
There are other ways to refer to it, one of which is nylons, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I would never wear. That stuff holds in it makes you smell weird when you wear stuff like that.
Right. In many cases, Blue Pac-Man, you'll find that the hose attached are the ones wearing them.
Yeah, alpaca socks, fantastic. Like alpaca hair, them socks are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
They're as nice as the pouchy underwear.
So you're saying don't wear synthetic fibers if you don't want to smell funny? Have strange odors?
Nylon makes you, like, anytime I wear those stretchy nylon-y shirts, like when you were in sports and shit, it's not even natural smelling.
Made your whole body smell like freaking chemical feet.
Yeah. It is bad. I don't ever wear shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stacy Sunshine has alpaca socks. She said she loves them. And alpaca socks are amazing.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Let's see.
I have my Christian Lives Matter t-shirt that I was going to wear tonight, but I didn't know if that would be a good thing or a not good thing. I think these might still be available for sale if you know where to look.
Even the cross, that cross is not a Christian symbol. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like they had to, and when he goes, I don't know if he understood when he's saying, well, that it's not in our Bible. I'm like, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's not you guys' custom. It's ours. That entire lifestyle is ours. It doesn't go in your book. It's ours.
Well, the most famous wedding in the Bible is probably the wedding at Cana, where Jesus turned water into grape juice that might have had an alcoholic consistency to it.
They called it wine. They called it wine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welch's concentrate grape juice.
Yeah.
That's been sitting around for a while with some extra sugar added into it.
Yeah.
And then a carbon lock put on top so it can burp. And then eventually it's what you want.
You know, every single culture that has ever risen has all on their own come up with swords, fermentation, and singing the history of their lineage to everybody else, which means no matter who you are or where you come from, you're going to want to stab somebody, then get drunk and sing about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not cultural conditioning. That's something that, like, little boys are just born into. You don't have to teach that little boy anything, and you set him outside and he will find a sword stick, knife stick, something like that within minutes. Come back like, this one is great. Look, I can slap, I can stab, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Go grab yourself a little skull cracking hippie whacker.
Yeah. It's just the way that works.
I have to share something with you guys. I do. No context, by the way.
He once corrected a child for calling the moon shiny. He once stopped a wedding to explain that wedding rings are just emotionally symbolic carbon loops. He believes laughter is just involuntary diaphragmatic spasms. He wished someone happy birthday, then clarified it was technically just the Earth returning to its original position. He doesn't say, I love you. He says, my hypothalamus is firing oxytocin at above average levels. He doesn't believe in miracles, unless you count people still inviting him to parties. He's been blocked by Santa Claus. He once explained gravity to a falling child. He once told his date that love is a brief neurochemical delusion. He once ruined New Year's Eve by explaining it was arbitrarily assigned by ancient bureaucrats. He signs birthday cards with statistical anomaly, survival achieved another year. He doesn't RSVP. He calculates gravitational time dilation before committing. He calls children undeveloped carbon-based thought engines. He thinks international borders are imaginary, but still gets mad when someone sits in his airplane seat. He has no baby photos, only timestamps of developmental milestones. He corrects people's dreams. He is the most condescending man in the world.
I don't always drink, but when I do, I prefer to remind everyone that Cheers is just a sonic placebo. Stay curious, within peer-reviewed limits, my friends.
Who is that? That's not Eddie Griffin or Eddie Murphy. That's not Carl Winslow. Who is that?
Neil
Neil
deGrasse
deGrasse
Tyson.
Tyson. Such a jackass.
NDT. Yeah. And quite possibly the most condescending man in the world.
Yeah, that guy's a jackass.
So he's not the magical Negro archetype.
That was Barack Obama.
Okay.
He was Barack the Magic.
Yeah,
Man.
he was.
There was
he
even
was,
a song about it.
He was Black Jesus because
Did he do the Cosmos?
Most Christians, normal Jesus is white.
So who's the white guy that started the Cosmos and this black
Carl
guy?
Sagan.
Carl Sagan, the demon of the
Stardust.
world.
That guy.
Yeah, okay.
That guy. Carl Sagan was actually pretty based when you read, a decent amount of what he put out there.
Yeah,
And then they give us this guy.
He got Neil deGrasse Tyson got rogered by Carl Sagan. That's why he's taking the mantle of astronomer supreme. Was Carl Sagan a fancy lad?
I'm
You
hearing
all right
no.
over there?
The spirits are saying no. He's not a fancy man.
That's hilarious.
Some intensive video gaming going on over there.
All just laughing, eavesdropping on teenagers. It's a
That's
parental instinct.
Yeah.
If they aren't making a bunch of noise, then that's when the alarm bells go off, though.
Right now, that's fair. That's fair.
Are they asleep or are they causing real problems? Which one is
Right.
it?
Let's see.
I had some articles from the Southern Baptist Convention that I was looking at, but we didn't really get to them. They have some ideas that they want to present. They don't like sports betting. They don't like willful childishness.
Why would you have an article from the Southern Baptist Commission ready to talk about?
Because it's the largest Christian group in America, and they're getting ready to influence politics. They're meeting for their annual gathering, I think June 10th today and tomorrow the 11th, and they have some things to say about culture and they want to influence it politically. And they don't like sports betting.
Nobody likes sports betting.
They also don't like pornography. They don't think it's great for society.
I mean, it's not. That's fair.
It's fair. The results are in on this, and definitely pornography is a hard negative for society as a whole. Now, with that said, there is something to be said, though, that historically the majority of men have not ever procreated. Like the number of men that pass on their genetic markers is as low as like 30%. Like that's super interesting. So to tell that other 70%, yeah, you're not gonna be laying no pipe and you can't rub one out, that's some rough stuff. Like, I'm not sure where to go with that. Like, there's never going to be that's a very socialist movement right there. Even distribution of the pussy, like that just has never historically happened.
That's in my notes. I was asking what sort of Christian church has like a 50-50 male to female ratio of unmarried folks in the dating pool. And if the Orthodox bros are all bringing bros and more bros, and it's just a lot of young men competing for very few eligible women, it seems like it benefits the women to have already been in Orthodox Christian churches and families.
Oh yeah.
They might benefit, but these young men, they might find it kind of a very frustrating place to be.
Well, if you're going to go that route, though, where you want a traditional relationship, you really, and this is something that, a lot of men don't want to put themselves to understand, because we've been taught that you build a life together. That's not traditional. Traditional, the man owns his land. He has his own place. He already is an established person. And then that person, now you're capable of having a wife, now that you've shown yourself responsible and able to take care of your own damn self at the very least. Now you can go and have a wife, take care of her and any possible children, which you probably are going to go get to trying to make right out the gate. So the idea that you're going to build that together, well, no, then you're just going to punch out kids before anybody has anything. You're going to charge everything up on credit cards immediately after you've just went through college and racked up, however much college is. It's a bad plan, bad plan. And so really, these guys are on the right path if they want to be, but the patience of establishing yourself as a man before you take on the responsibilities of a husband and wife, well, that they weren't told that part of the story, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, for that matter, there was usually like somebody's family's land that the nuptials were getting a corner of, for that to even occur at all, which is good. It's a good way to keep, family land. It's a good way to, expand what you have, what your holdings are, and all that kind of shit. But it wasn't like dude just wakes up one morning and he's like, all right, I'm gonna go make it on my own. I'll be back in 3 years when I can go try and pick a bitch. Like more
but
often,
it wasn't always just farmers. I mean, you take any kind of a craftsman. You went through your apprenticeship, you became an established blacksmith or whatever else. You purchase yourself a little place, and then you get a wife. You don't cart before the horse. You don't and as a farmer, you didn't get that piece of the land until you earned it, until you were old enough to take care of it.
Well, yeah, sure. Not, but you also start your apprenticing when you're 9. You start learning how to farm when you're 3. You know, like it's bit different, a little bit different.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we've taken that away from kids too. And again, obviously you can make the case that this was an overreaction to shit like putting kids in a fucking coal mine, which is absolutely insane. But at the same token, taking all responsibility away from kids until they're 18. Well, how the hell do you expect them to be like overnight responsible? That's insane. They need some practice at it. This is no different than not letting a kid drive till they're 18. Yeah, you suck that first 2-3 years of driving, no matter who you are. So I got that shit out of the way when I was 12 and 13. By the time I was 18, I was a very accomplished driver and deserving the lowered insurance rates I was starting to receive. Now, when I was 17, 16, I deserved the upped insurance rates that I was receiving. That 1990s $300 a month liability on a fucking Ford Ranger. Hey! Woo! Woo! I don't pay that now for full coverage and liability on 2 different vehicles.
Yup. I remember when I was like 16, dude, even in the mid 90s, my insurance was more than what I'm paying now. For sure.
Yeah.
I was like paying like $230, $240 at 16.
The 300 was in Minneapolis. Or Richfield, Bloomington.
Yeah, this was the
so
fucking farm country in Indiana.
Yeah, so the 300 is probably pretty equal to what you're talking about. My first
for sure.
apartment, it was 2-bedroom apartment. And I only paid $400 a month.
Mm.
And it was a nice little apartment. It was like 4 fourplexes, and it was all like slightly younger to middle-aged people. I had a wife and a kid already, so they let us in there, and it was nice.
Yeah, I was in a 3-bedroom apartment in West Lafayette, Indiana, and I think my share of the rent was $295.
Yeah.
How much did a Red Hot Chili Pepper concert ticket cost you?
And that was bills included?
Like $14 or some shit.
Yeah, dude, Lollapalooza was $80.
Just show up at the gate
for the
and pay
weekend.
cash.
Dude,
$65.
$5 for White Zombie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to go to a 2-day or more festival if you were paying more than $50.
Yeah, and you were gonna see like 12 bands, and they were all gonna be epic bands.
Yeah. Fuck, dude. I paid $8 to go see Fishbone opened for the Damned and the Queers. We paid fucking $12 to go see Blind Melon.
Wow. No rain?
Yeah, it was that era. Yeah.
No rain, yeah.
Yeah. Saw Alice in Chains for fucking $18 with what I think like Jesus and Mary chain.
The Jesus and Mary chain, yeah.
Yeah. There was somebody else too, but I can't remember who it was.
The Chains tour.
Damn straight, that was a good old days. That's when freaking gas was like 90 cents. Fucking, I could go in and I had a Ford F1, a 77 F-150 with the straight 6300. Fuck, that engine was bulletproof, and a 4-speed manual. That truck was just literally. I got rid of it because it turned into a Flintstone mobile, and the whole damn pan on the bottom rusted out. And I still sold it for as much as I paid for it. But I could fill that truck up with gas. I think I had a 16 or 17 gallon tank, and I could get a pop, and they'd still hand me back change. Now I go in with my truck now and like $140. I hope that I can fill the truck.
Right.
That's the inflation. Yeah.
Yeah, cigs were about, dude, way under $2 because I used to buy a carton of Camel Wides I smoked when I was 18, and I could walk in and get a carton of Camel Wides, a pop, and I'd still get like $4 back.
And they knew how to count your change and give it to you correctly.
Yeah, and if you gave them $1, like your thing was, or your thing was like $15.63, and you give them $21, they didn't look at you like you're nuts. Like, oh, it's only $15.63. Yeah, but I'd like a 5 back instead of the 4 ones. Like, it's not that fucking hard. Oh God. Oh, the short circuit. Mm-hmm.
Why did you give me so much extra money?
20. The 20 covers it.
Right.
Like, oh God.
I know Lucy. I know quite a bit about a Ricker Pop, and we'd stop at this, like when we were in high school. It was on like 6th Street, and there was a fucking like ghetto ass clothing store across the street from it called The Shed. It was the 76 station, the Rickers, and you go in and you get like a fucking 64-ounce fucking soda in a just trashy ass styrofoam container. And it was because it was cheap as fuck. Like everything was cheap as fuck. They would sell you fucking cigarettes when you were 15 years old. They didn't give a shit. There was a
fuck yeah. All you had to say was my mom's out in the car.
Is that a
Dairy
prom?
Queen right across the street that a couple of friends of mine worked at, and fucking they got busted for putting rum in the Mr. Misty machine. Dude, we would go into this Dairy Queen when we were in high school. We'd go into the walk-in and just fucking hit nitrous. The dude who managed it or owned the fucking location, his name was I think Waleed. It was his name. He was like one of the only Indians or Sikhs or whatever in town at the time. And fucking he took, remember the foam padding that they used to put over the crossbar on BMX bikes when we were kids?
Yeah.
Yep.
He took that
Pool
and just
noodle.
put it on all of the railings in the walk-in so that when people fished out fucking stealing the nitrous, they didn't split their heads open and bleed out and die in his freezer. Because he knew he couldn't really like stop people from being degenerates.
Come on, cutest. You're being such a shit tonight.
I played soccer with Ryan Martin, as a matter of fact. Yeah, he was I think my sister's age. Yeah, I think he was either my sister's age or a year older. I can't remember, but he was a couple of years younger than me. Yeah.
Nitrous at the Dairy Queen. I was going to ask, is there a prompt to say that it's better just to give kids tobacco and papers to roll their own instead of giving them electronic cigarettes or vapes?
Nitrous of the Dairy Queen is the name of my new progressive fusion band.
Dude, you know what? Fucking them vapes, I think that's going to end up being a real bad deal. A lot of what these kids are sucking in, it's not going to be good. And all of us know some fucking like 95-year-old fucking broad that smoked. Well, Lucky Strikes is probably not as big a thing anymore, but fucking like 95s drinking straight Jack Daniels and fucking puffing on Lucky Strikes and
Virginia
shit.
Slims,
Right? Your ass.
Passing out Zimas with Jolly Ranchers in them to all the bitches. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, fuck, Zima.
Like a boss.
Zima and ice, the girls who drink the Zima and the guys who drink the ice beers. That was
dude. Ice House,
beers.
fucking Bud Ice. There was fucking
Natty Ice.
Yeah.
Fireballs.
Wilson's Ice.
With that
Whatever you
natty
get.
bow.
Yeah, everybody did an ice beer, all at one, boom, 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 boom. So,
Dude, there would be a couple of fucking rednecks with a couple of cases of Ice House or like a keg of Ice House in a truck, and then just 12 packs of Zimas and like a bag of Jolly Ranchers. And we'd go to this place called Edgewater Park until we got ran off by the cops. And then we'd walk up at somebody's fucking house. But yeah, like all the fucking time.
And Mike's Hard Lemonade came out back then too. They liked those.
It was like brand new, yeah.
And we used to like to take the fucking Mike's Hard Lemonades and spike them with fucking Everclear.
Oh, right.
Extra hard lemonades.
Yeah, they were extra hard. Fucking my buddy Brian one time, he took and tried to shoot, them little ones that were only like this big, but I'd like taken like half of it out with a syringe and mixed it back in with Everclear, and his whole fucking face turned fucking so bright red, including his ears. Oh God, it was hilarious. Like it was just a half a shot of Everclear. Like the whole thing was like half Everclear. It's like, oh fuck.
And Lucy, you should get in the AM wake up chat. There's like 4 other people from Anderson that show up there on a regular basis. Like my old neighbor stumbled across my show.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was wild. Fucking a dude who I kind of knew. I didn't really know him, but he was a couple years older than me. And like we like played sports against each other and shit like that a couple of times. That was like the extent of it. He found the show, and the only reason I remembered his name is because he tried to scam the Jerry Springer show and got caught. It's Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. West Coast, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. East Coast.
Nobody from my high school But my wife, one time she came up and said something and she actually got on screen for a minute. And all of a sudden she gets a message from somebody she went from high school with. It's like, you married to Benjamin Balderson?
It's hilarious. It's fantastic. Let's see.
Going to do liquor right, get real shit. Exactly. I don't drink anymore. I make great mead. The last Flatoberfest, holy shit, that went like hotcakes. I couldn't have brought enough fucking mead that night. Woo!
But yeah, that is some A-Town shit to try and scam the Jerry Springer show. It was over a leather jacket that supposedly got stolen, and he was supposed to get reimbursed the cost of the jacket from the Jerry Springer show, and they like put him up in a hotel for a night. Came and picked him up, and then once they went into tape, like the story fell apart pretty quick, and they were like, "Get the fuck out of here! What are you doing?"
You're talking about Jerry Springer. You talked about Jesse Raphael. What did you say that other talk show host was?
Jesse Raphael.
Yeah, I kind of got the notion that some of the whatever podcasts and some of these live streams are filling that gap that Jerry Springer once held. Was the Merv show, the other guy who did it?
Yeah.
Howard Stern, that type of shock jock thing, and now they're doing it on YouTube.
No, of course he didn't get it at the Shed, Lucy. He had to go to the Castleton Mall and go to a real freaking, leather store in order to get the jacket.
There's a guy that roams around that was on, I can't remember which one of those shows he said he was on, Maury Povich maybe or something. And he went on, like, apparently the dude was like 140 pounds. And his girlfriend was like 500 or 600 pounds. And apparently, like, she had a bunch of kids, but none of them were his. And he already actually knew that, but then pretended like he didn't and went on there. And it was like, the tiny dude and the giant fat chick, and super weird. But that guy, he was on Sarah Tomato's channel a few times.
We're streaming to multiple YouTube channels, so you might be
right. Probably on it.
Places. Rumble's chat's showing on screen. There's the Deliberating Dog-Faced Dudes and the Benjamin Balderson channel on YouTube.
Yeah.
Usually mine has more on the lives, but it don't look like I'm not showing shit on there for today.
I've seen the chats on YouTube holding some comments for saying things that are adult things, not terrible things, but using the word PORN sometimes gets filtered. Some of the things that show up are questionable in the YouTube filters.
It says there's 22 watching on my channel right now if it's out here, but then it says it's 8 if I click over here.
Yeah, check the live chat. Make sure you're seeing not top messages, but all messages. If you're on a phone, you might have to tap.
Dude, there's anybody that hasn't seen. I know Beth in here right there. She's seen, but I've got videos and I've been recording it where like my video within like 45 minutes will have 500-600 views, and then all of a sudden it'll jump down to like 300 or it'll start dropping, and then it'll just fall off. And I've been taking screenshots of it.
Yeah.
And because a lot of my videos at this point, they'll jump up like right away to like 500 or 600 on my thing, and then YouTube will literally start taking back views.
Yeah, it's an odd way that they calculate them, and they say, no, wait, that might be wrong. Our initial calculations might be too high or too low, so we're going to adjust them for other people to see in the future what level of engagement this material is receiving.
Like, and it always happens right when it appears like something, and I know viral's kind of a fake thing,
Mhm.
but it always happens right when some video gets ready to take off. Like a lot of people have watched it in a very short duration, under an hour, and it's approaching 1,000 already.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden they put a dead break to it and start taking them back. You're like, you fuckheads.
Yeah, it's
I
silly,
did see
silly
a
to play
thing.
those games.
I saw a thing a couple of days ago about how YouTube is relaxing its moderation policy. Let me see.
Yeah,
if
they
I
let
can-
Rose 777 get her channel back.
They gave Corbett his channel back the other week.
I saw Corbett's YouTube videos, and I was very surprised to see Corbett
Yeah,
on YouTube. That's
it's been a decade or more since
Yeah.
it was
But
allowed.
now
on
what
YouTube.
happens is they just make your channel stagnant and it makes it look like you're irrelevant, and instead of banned is what they do.
Well, I do think that there's some legitimate urgency on the part of YouTube to compete with Rumble
Mhm.
in the wake of the rampant, coof censorship.
Right, with Twitch being owned by Amazon, being a legitimate threat for live broadcasters to go over there
Mhm.
instead of YouTube. Rumble is growing quite well. Rockfin just said, "I don't want to play it anymore." I don't
Yeah,
want
You
to
shouldn't be friends with us, Beth. Or maybe we shouldn't be friends with you. I don't know, one or the other.
Oh, not everyone, Beth. We didn't get ours back, and I know a
Yeah.
number of people that didn't.
Did you have to go through
None of my
the
original stuff's
training,
back.
the re-education camp on YouTube, just to say that you play fair and nice and
I
obey
applied to the
bylaws?
re-education camp. They said they take a look at my folder and they wouldn't have me.
Grimerica did a live stream and they were going through on their YouTube channel to say, "Well, this is what we have to do to be re-educated to return to YouTube."
Right. I did. And Corbett's definitely not one of these people, but there are a lot of people that are what like Tripoli calls safe dangerous
Mhm.
that got their YouTube channels back, and it was mostly because they'd been banned for medical misinformation. But other than that, they pretty much toe a party line, and generally try to funnel people back into the duopoly.
So people that showed a little bit of hesitation and skepticism to accept what was being rolled out in 2020
Well, even
March.
people that were openly hostile to it have gotten their channels back. Yeah. I mean, there's people that I guess the delineation seems to be if you talked about the coof, that was one thing. If you talked about the coof and you talked about the digital surveillance grid and you talked about some of the more esoteric elements of like the way the power structure has been built up and how they operate, that not a freaking chance, bub. Don't even try to play. So
and we can't even help you guys chat, like Cherie. Like we don't even know which channel you guys are messaging from. It doesn't tell us. It gives you a little YouTube, and like a dingo ate me baby is on Rumble. But
yeah, it's a little green circle.
But the multiple YouTube channels, we can't tell which one. Just that it was a YouTube comment in general.
Yes. So I see Beth is chatting in the Deliberating Dogface Dudes channel. Everybody else is chatting on the Benjamin Balderson channel. And I don't know if the old chat showed up.
But yeah, no, and Kick is fine, Dingo, but it's a gamer platform. It's like Twitch was 8 years ago. And I'm pretty sure before that it was a kink platform, right? Or was that KIK and it was a different Kick?
I wouldn't know anything about that topic at all. I'm not walking into that one right now.
Right.
Fucking any word over here is just that dude has got straight up like that. That's some Andy Kaufman shit right there. He can hold the line. He can hold the line.
There was apparently a kerfuffle involving the possibility of one Owen Big Bear Benjamin performing a comedy set at an event in Florida, along with Tripoli and the Nephilim Death Squad and Tower Gang. And the mayor of the town and the city council apparently was like, no, Owen can't come do a stand-up set here. And so all at once, a handful of different things happened. In Florida. So the two dudes, who by the way hate me, they hate me because I went after the guy who just threw them under the bus. So they told the mayor in the venue, "Fuck you, we'll take it somewhere else." 1/4 of Tower Gang podcast, one Clint Russell.
You're talking about the Nephilim Death Squad that hates you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to that show where they were shitting on you and fucking.
I haven't. I'm never gonna. I don't care. And I'm actually like kind of gonna be sticking up for here at this one too. But yeah, so they went and found a new venue, and Clint like threw them all under the bus and was like, "I'm not coming. I don't want anything to do with this. If they're gonna fucking cancel the show, it probably like he got fucking." So Owen has several minutes of video up about it. There are several different threads about how and all at the end of the day, because Clint threw his friends under the bus in order to like save face and fucking not rock the boat, I'm sure he'll be rewarded handsomely for that. I'm sure he will.
I'm shocked that a conservative area had that much of a problem with Owen. I mean, I realize he's a shock jock type comic, but well, at least that's what he's turned into. Like his older stuff that was very mainstream, that stuff was pretty mild. Like he had one bit about how you should have different horn sounds depending on, whether you're like just saying hi or, oops, sorry, or, fuck you, like, and it was pretty funny. But his newer stuff, he's just kind of a shock jock guy, but it's all on the conservative bent. I kind of, especially at first when he started picking up with, was trying to be best friends with Kanye and all that before he openly stated he's gay. I thought he was trying to make it onto the main stage again as like a alt-right conservative. Yeah. And I'm sure, they probably thought he was going to do the exact same thing that Bill Cosby thought Eddie Murphy was going to do, where he just walks out and drops the N-word 80 times and says, "Suck my dick," and leaves. I'm sure that's what they thought. And they're wrong. They're wrong. He say Jews a couple of times too. So, like, let's not be narrow-minded.
How do you get that Jello money, though? How do you get that Puddin' Pop sponsorship?
You gotta put it in your mouth.
You get good and compromised, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the frogs are coming from me. That's a fact.
We have some ambiance.
We got the garden going, so it's very moist around my house. Moist. So the frogs like it up by the house.
You wouldn't want to plant any seed in a dry garden, would you?
No, you wouldn't. Which one's gay, Owen or Kanye?
Frogs. I think they're asking about the frogs.
Poor frogs, they're not gay. They certainly aren't gay around here, anyways.
It's just the atrazine.
There's no chemicals on the property.
I got a butt.
It's the last piece of bread.
Jeez.
It's the last piece of bread.
I caught that.
Wait. Oh, Owen's gay? I don't know, man. Owen's got a lot of kids.
I did hear that comment, and I was like, oh, did OB come out as being GAY?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, he definitely putting a bun in the
BYI.
oven every time one comes out. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Is he friends with Dane Cook? Maybe those two could go on a reunion tour together.
Swap guy liner tips.
Mm-hmm. It's like that Tosh 2.0 guy. There's always that frat boy comedian thing.
That guy is so freaking rich. It's insane how much money Daniel Tosh has. Apparently, he's like hella nice to other comics. Yeah,
I think he's got to be. He's got.
Well, and didn't he go down letting out a lot of the PDF file type stuff?
that was
Isn't
Dan
that how he
Cook,
got-
not Daniel Tosh.
Tosh.
Did he?
Yeah.
I don't
He
know.
was letting, didn't like his final episode of his show. He like kind of was he was doing a expose type thing and
don't even
saying
know.
some shit that's
Chat, is that real? Chat, can you get some info on that?
I'm pretty
Tosh.
sure that's what went on with Tosh. That he was
Tosh 2.0. He was on Comedy Central, and then
I just know that Tosh.0 was a direct ripoff of Web Junk, which used to be hosted by Patrice O'Neill
Mhm.
originally.
I remember Web Junk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you see the Jared Leto news? Jared Leto news.
yeah, you know, if you have a cult, you're obviously sleeping with underage girls. That seems to be one of the only reasons to be a cult leader, as far as I can tell.
Mm-hmm. To be a 30 Seconds to Mars musician, to be in movies. Yeah.
Ruin movies.
Yeah. That's kind of why girls respond to your emails and your direct messages. Because you're Jared Leto. Not a big surprise.
Right. I'm gonna have to bounce up out of here in a minute, gents.
Do we have any extra juice? Do we have any extra green tea? We
No,
want
I
to
think
go
we'll
the
probably
distance
call it-
tonight?
Probably call it for a night, and instead of having Steve have to run it till 4 a.m.
Well, it was.
I mean, that
it
doesn't
was
bother
fun.
me at
The
all. I'm
chat
gonna
room
fall
was
asleep. I'll
alive.
eventually wake up. I'll come
There's a
over and
lot of
check
great
the
music
thing, turn it off.
recommendations in the Rumble chat.
The best part about that
No,
whole
there
thing,
wasn't. It was all Creed. The
It was
only
all
record-
Creed. All Creed.
It was
The
all
best
Creed.
part
It was all
about that
Creed.
was is even after Marcus and I went to bed, the
Yeah.
chat kept going adamantly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
no,
hours.
the chat
We
was
don't need
kinda-
you fucking guys. You just need to open up the room for us. We don't fucking need you guys. Go to bed, you sissies.
All right. Yeah. But yeah, no, we can do that. Yeah, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna hop off here in a second.
Oh, that's okay. I'm just gonna put some White Cross on.
White Cross.
Well, we'll see who we can cook up for next week. I think a friend of mine recommended there's some dude named Dane, and he's got this whole thing where the Earth is in a constant upward motion, which is what is causing gravity and all this. And he's got some experiments that he does and whatnot. So we can question him and whatnot, but I got his email, and so I'll be contacting him this week. So maybe we'll get him next week.
All right.
He's got some videos out there. We'll dig them up, watch them. Dell, yes. Earthship Bear, what's up? Anything I said that was incorrect, feel free to correct me right there. But yeah, this Dell fella, he's got some, and I've watched the videos myself. It's pretty fucking interesting. I don't know what to say about it. And so, yeah.
It's that point of the night.
We'll shoot him some emails and maybe get him next week.
It's that point in the night where I'm realizing AM wake up, Alan Marcus AM, and I don't know if I was answering questions that were not directed towards me or not.
Yeah,
There's one question I didn't answer. That they asked, "What did I play?" I play koi.
No, I
think that
play
was
stringed
directed-
instruments.
Okay.
And that's a mandolin.
You play coy like a
There's
fucking man.
guitar over there. But yeah.
Spend
All
a
right.
good night. It's a full moon. Guys, go look at the full moon and do something crazy.
Right.
I would
All right.
most likely agree with the magnetic force, but we'll see what this Dell has to say. I'll shoot him an email and see about what he's doing next week.
Heck yeah. All right, y'all. Well, be good or be good at it, however that goes. And
don't get caught at least.
Right. Drive fast, take chances.
Love you guys.
Never commit a misdemeanor while in the process of committing a felony. We'll see you next
That
week.
one's a big one.
Yeah.